Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto hates Greyfia part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. How much longer will you continue to stand there? A normally bland and monotonous voice inquired, which held a dash of irritation. Her face was unreadable to most, but not to him, never him. He had known her for over 1,000 years, and yet for the life of him, he couldn't comprehend why she had chosen this form. To hear her almost dead voice from a childlike appearance was a tad frightening to him. They made sure to remain out of sight to everyone, even the supernatural. It wouldn't benefit them in the slightest if someone glanced to the sky and saw a man and a little girl floating in the sky without any kind of assistance. This world functioned better if people believed the supernatural was just myths and folklore, used to get children to behave and eat their veggies. The owner of the monotone voice was a little girl with waist-long black hair, black eyes with reptilian slitted pupils and elven-tipped ears. Her attire consisted of a black shirt with a blue X over her upper chest around, a matching colored skirt and a bright pink jacket. She was wearing black knee-length socks with turquoise blue hearts climbing up the right side. On her skirt were 2 hollowed-out hearts with a little golden ribbon design underneath. I thought you longed for silence. Could you be becoming human like the rest of us, Ophis? A youthful voice teased out, sounding like he took some joy in asking that. Don't be foolish, Naruto, Ophis countered back. Her tone showed a bit more irritation. Naruto didn't let it get to him and just smiled softly ahead. Naruto was not a being native to this world, but he had been here long enough to think of it as home. The much younger man had tried not to wear anything too flashy but failed apparently. He had picked out an orange dress shirt, a pair of form-fitting black jeans, a matching pair of dress shoes and finally a charcoal suit jacket. The two were stationed above Ko, a small town in Japan that was soon going to become a hotspot for future supernatural activity. Naruto's smile never faltered as he looked around at the people going about their day, them remaining oblivious to the fact that right above them were 2 superpowered beings capable of destroying Japan many times over. Well, Ophis definitely, he hadn't thought about trying it himself. The reason they were here, or more so Naruto, Ophis had just tagged along because she was disinterested in being alone for the moment. The youthful-looking shapeshifter followed his gaze and found his target almost straight away. The target of their interest was a building. It was especially large considering this city's small standards. The building itself looked rather plain in both style and shape, but it was the only club in the city, so it earned itself some points there. Ophis herself didn't care enough to provide any meaningful commentary, although her sole reason for existing was removing Great Red from the gap, so her lack of opinion could be excused. While lackluster in appearance, it had something to help it stand out. A giant leaf with the symbol of Konoha, hollowed out in its center, underneath it in big bold letters. Konohagakure. The longer the pair stared, the more nervous Naruto felt. He took a risk and tilted his head in the direction of his companion, smiling sheepishly when he caught her deadpan expression. Konoha? Really? Her voice made him even more nervous. I'll admit I couldn't think of anything else, all right. Naruto sighed softly to himself, his smile forgotten. I just needed something to remind me of home, especially after all these centuries. That set her expression back to neutral. She could understand missing one's home. Besides, the only link to my home dimension is a comic, or manga as they call it here, so it shouldn't be an issue. His smile returned after that. I suppose we should take a look considering you dragged me out here. I want a silencing barrier on it so I can't hear the outside, Ophis demanded, despite it was her initiative to tag along. So demanding, Naruto sang, extending his senses and luckily enough finding the building empty. Clicking his fingers, their eyes picked up a very faint blue glow. Let us go! He cheered before vanishing in a flash of yellow, a purple one following directly after. The very moment the 2 overpowered being reappeared, a different sort of mood had been set, mainly for Naruto. He had always been open about his mood, his expression giving it primarily away, and even now was no different. He looked excited to see the fruits of his people's labor. A fine job had been done in his experience, he almost felt at home. Ophis just looked around with a blank expression, except for the faintest of glimmers shining in her eyes. If Naruto was being honest, he hadn't a clue with how to run a nightclub, then again how hard could it be? This was not a venture for profit, already having amassed enough to buy country if need be. When you lived as long as he had, then money didn't hold any value to him. So it didn't matter if the business made anything. Win or lose, it still served its purpose as a front for their stay in Kuo. Tables shaped like leaves, Ophis spoke out loud with a cute tilt of her head, floating over to one of them before lowering herself onto it. Giving it a gentle tap with her foot, minding her strength as to not break it in half. The name translates to village hidden in the leaves, so leaves are kind of a focal point of the establishment, Naruto explained with a shrug before walking over to Office. Picking her up by her jacket and setting her on his shoulder, before proceeding to give her a tour of the place. He was lucky enough to check this place for signs of life before they flashed here. If someone had been present who was not aware of the supernatural, and started to make a fuss, then there were two things to be done. A. Would be a mind wipe, or B. Would have been obliterated on the spot so Office could reclaim her silence. Granted, she doesn't do it that much, but you never know with her. Luckily enough, she looked to be quite passive at the moment. When you would walk through the entrance, it would be as follows. The bar would be located on the right-hand side of the ground floor with a VIP section situated above, accessible by a staircase. It was through the VIP section is how you would get to the manager station for whoever was in charge for the night, mainly himself. On the ground floor directly opposite the bar on the other side of the room were the booths with leaf-shaped tables. The booths were black leather with seals inscribed into them for self-cleaning at the end of the night. You could fit between 6 to 8 people per booth. The entire left side looked to be filled with them. In between the bar and the booths, the dance floor, big enough to fit around 50 to 100 people. The lights situated around appeared to angle more light towards the dance floor, as that should be the busiest area for the night. In front, on a slightly elevated stage, was a DJ booth. Bathrooms were located to the right of the DJ booth. Naruto toyed with the idea of having 2 different sets of bouncers, one for humans and the other for supernatural. In the end, he decided to employ his people for both. Even though he didn't have any idea what he was doing, he still wanted this place to be a respectable establishment. He knew to keep a closer eye on the supernatural side. They were bound to be trickier. If there was one area he needed, it was an area for adults to have a smoke. Most of them smoked, especially when they had some alcohol in their system. If he couldn't provide that, then no point in even opening. Speaking of the opening, he was going to have to find a way to advertise the debut for the joint. That was not something he was knowledgeable about. He had no shame in admitting that, but he knew people who were more experienced in that field than him. He had an idea for some free publicity, but he would need to make sure the booze was kept far away, as the age to enter a bar in Japan was 20 or over. Most publicity is good, and it could serve to build a bridge with the devils, something he hadn't had for a long time. He needed them close to see if they kept their end of the bargain, or if they played him for a fool. If they didn't fulfill their end of the deal, then there was going to be hell to pay, no pun intended. He seriously hoped that hadn't played him for a fool, humanity had suffered enough under their guidance. Curse his bleeding heart, sometimes wanting to see the best held you back. By the time Naruto had shown Office around, the little dragon had not kept quiet. When she had a question or wanted to know something, she would point and ask. It delighted him in truth. It was nice to see her take any form of interest in something other than Great Red. Mostly everything feared or was extremely wary of Office and her power, and whilst he had some reservations about engaging her in combat, one thing was clear. Office was naive, but it was that sort of innocence about her that made him want to protect her, cherish her, and how she could remain so innocent in this sinful world. Just as the tour was coming to its conclusion, another presence entered the premises. Scanning the signature for a second, Naruto quickly turned around with Office on his shoulder, offering a warm and welcoming smile, an action that was returned. A rather youthful-looking young woman, with long vibrant brown hair, a high ponytail that extended down to her waist. Her build was fairly short and slim, but that didn't cut any corners regarding her beauty, nor did it make her look weak. At most, she looked very athletic. Her strikingly hazel-colored orbs locked onto his form almost instantly. Her smile rose a touch. The black mock-neck solid tank top looked great on her, as it highlighted her assets were looked to be a solid C-cup, a pair of matching colored skinny jeans that drew enough attention to her thighs, and finally some boots to complete the outfit. The mysterious woman looked to be unable to contain herself anymore, closing the distance faster than should have been possible. She leapt and easily encircled her arms around his neck, with her legs wrapping around his waist as if he was a giant teddy bear. Whilst many would view this as an overly affectionate lover reuniting with their significant other, Serafall being a known person for being overly affectionate toward her sister. Naruto's relationship to the woman being more father in nature, she was just excitable. In her bout of excitement, he had forgotten about Office. Glancing to his shoulder to see she had vacated her spot, looking up he saw her hovering a few inches above him. Her expression displaying an almost minuscule frown aimed at the girl. Tori, please give a warning next time. Office is giving you the look again. Naruto tried not to be too bothered by it, and he was thankful that Tori had mellowed out, but she made it a habit to annoy Office when she got the opportunity. Tori just smiled at Office with a twinkle in her eye. You're not being salty, are ya? Not bothered in the least about antagonizing someone who could turn her into a bloody paste with just a wave of her hand. Naruto wondered if it was a secret ability for her to hang off him like a sloth. he didn't bother listening to their banter whilst he thought about one of the main reasons he opened this club here in Ko. This place would be an important strategic location in the future. He held no doubt that Serzen and Serafall would take precautions once they discovered his presence here, especially close to their sisters. The question he asked himself now though was how long does he choose to remain hidden? He didn't have anything to fear here, especially from their peerages. He was a whole different fish for them. They would grow in time and prepare for some of the harder challenges, but if they would reach the capability to take him on was questionable, let alone his group. One problem was that he didn't want to involve his little brother, but that might not be an option anymore. It was almost like fate. 2 decades ago, when he first passed through this town, he felt their anguish. From his time when he was a healer, this pain felt particularly strong, and so he wished to help them. He found them at the cemetery burying what he found to be their second child. Both were stillborn. Naruto would admit that he wasn't proud of what he did next, manipulating their mind a little to go and adopt, only to make sure a clone of his was the child they took home. He left his clone there to grow with them and make sure their next child would be born. Healing magic from his dimension cured almost anything here provided you knew what you were looking for. Then a short time later, Mickey got pregnant again, and this time she delivered a baby boy, but that wasn't the most interesting thing. He had Drake attached to his soul. It was all too much of a coincidence, but he stayed after they had their son. Letting them keep their memories, he grew attached to them and enjoyed the feeling of having a family, even if he felt a bit guilty. Naruto felt guilty for manipulating them, but he hoped that helping them have Issei relieved a little of his burden. He did like having a family. It didn't make him any less grateful for what Kushina and Minato sacrificed for him to be allowed to live. Naruto's thoughts were broken by an animal-like snarl. He watched Tori jump off him and get right into Opha's face, who looked monotonous as normal. It was to be expected. Tori was more of a confrontational girl, and Ophis was as cool as a cucumber. He placed his hand on Tori's shoulders and drew her back before she annoyed Ophis enough to take action. Cut it out, he reprimanded her, focusing all his attention on Tori now. Where is Nishiki? He stepped out this morning, she responded with a pout. Shit, Naruto cursed. Well, if you see him, tell him to give me a call. Turning his attention to Ophis, who looked like she had enough being here, no doubt because of Tori. Ophis, you can leave if you want, and we will speak later. The Ouroboros dragon disappeared the moment he said she could leave. Naruto sighed at that. Letting go of her, he walked over to the bar. I wish you wouldn't annoy her too much. He walked around the bar, Tori coming to a stop and taking a seat. Knowing she would want to drink now, he took 2 glasses and filled them with ice. Pick your poison? JD Double and Coke. Putting the glasses down, he fished out the measuring cups before picking up a bottle, pouring it into the cup before filling her glass. Doing the same to his one. Lastly, he grabbed the Coke gun and filled up both glasses. When the drink was made, he put a straw in it and handed it to her. Tori took it with a grateful look. Naruto left out the straw, raising it to his lips and feeling the cold beverage flow down his throat. The two soon descended into silence. That was until Tori decided to answer his earlier statement. It's not on purpose, I only do it to lighten her up, Tori answered, twirling the ice with her straw. I know, but even after 1,000 years, it still ain't worked. She ain't like us, we were born human, we have emotions, it is not that simple. So why do you keep trying? He was genuinely curious. Tori was by far the one who interacted with Ophis the most except for himself. You have already done it once, a creature you thought to be mindless. You helped it grow, so why can't we do the same for Ophis? Naruto didn't have a response for that, so he left it there. Downing the rest of his drink, he left the glass on the bar. Going to go and check on the folks. Leaning over, he gave her a chaste kiss on the side of her head. I am proud of how far you have come, never forget that. Naruto walked away after that, missing the smile on her face as she resumed her drink in silence. When Naruto stepped out of the club, the sun was shining. Giving off a stretch to limber himself up, not noticing his shirt rose a little, giving off a free show to some of the women who were close by. He smiled and waved at them as they blushed a little. The ones that had partners blushed while their male counterparts glared at him. He paid them no mind and started walking toward the hiatus. As he started to walk, he realized his adopted kids would be coming home tonight. He would need to make sure they wouldn't be detected, or that could pose an issue that he wished to avoid until later on. Sona would be cautious and message her sister, whilst Rias would most likely try to get one of them into her peerage, especially with her upcoming engagement. He hoped Serzen and Serafall had kept their promise to get their race to treat humanity better. It had been the one thing he asked of them. Humanity needed someone to guide it, and if they couldn't, then he would. War would follow, and whilst the old version of him wouldn't be able to stomach it, the current him of today knew it was needed. Change without conflict was impossible, and if they wanted a show of force, then they would get one. The Haya residence was small, but it gave off the feeling of a proper family home. That was how Naruto felt as he stood outside the gate staring at it. He briefly wondered if Kushina and Minato would have provided a home with this feeling, had they lived. No point in spending any more time dallying. Opening the gate, he felt a smile creep on his features. Walking down the small pathway, when he got to the door he gave it a solid knock, and luckily enough he didn't have to wait long. The door swung open. Standing there was a typical middle-aged woman. Naruto hoped she would remember him. It was a silly thought, but he had been gone for a few years. The main thing that he had changed was his clothes. Everything else pretty much looked the same. He might have grown a bit as well. "Can I help?" While trailing off, her eyes widened. A good sign, he prayed it was. "Naruto-kun?" Yeah, she remembered him. Her voice was shaky. Naruto smiled at her, giving her the confirmation she needed. Like with Tori, Mickey surged forward and hugged him in a more subdued manner. Easily catching her, wrapping her in a warm hug, their height difference was apparent now. Resting his cheek on her head, Naruto gave her a squeeze as both their eyes grew watery. The guilt he felt earlier on his journey over him returned with vengeance. He compared this reunion to the one he could have had with Kushina after his training trip with Jiraiya. The love of a mother was truly a powerful thing, and he wished he could have had time to experience it with his parents from his former dimension. But he wasn't afforded that option, hence why he basked in a mother's love now. Squeezing her again to show he missed her as well. "Honey, what's wrong?" Hearing the voice of his adopted father. Raising my head, I shot him a smile. He still looked the same as he did before I left, same office attire, same glasses and a paper underneath his arm. The moment he spotted me, he dropped the paper and repeated Mickey's action. "Hi, Dad," I smiled. The elder man flashed a grin at his adopted son. I saw his eyes growing misty but refrained from pointing it out. Male pride and shit. The moment was perfect, except for where was little bro. "Where's Issei?" I inquired. "He should be on his way home from school. You should have seen him when he got his acceptance letter to Ko Academy," Mom said with a proud look. "We all knew Issei was perverted, so that must have been like early Christmas for him." Well, a pervert wasn't as bad as to what he could have become. "Enough of that though, let us go inside," Mickey quickly intervened, practically dragging Naruto into the house. Crossing through the threshold, Naruto instantly felt his years of absence wash away. The house still looked mostly the same. There were a few more pictures scattered around though. Taking off his shoes, he put them down by the door. Walking through the house as his clone had done 1,000 times, he plopped down on the sofa. Okay, now would come the "what were you doing? How have you been?" Luckily enough, he had a plan for all that. "I hope tea is alright?" Mickey called out from the kitchen. "That sounds perfect," Naruto answered, smiling again when he saw how chipper she was, an extra spring in her step. Remaining silent when she poured some of the tea and put it in front of him. Adding a little bit of sugar, and giving it a quick stir. Naruto brought the piping hot cup to his lips, giving it a blow before having a sip. Now he might be biased, but that was heavenly, and he had tea in heaven before. "Delicious, thank you." "So how was it? Did you eat properly? Were you safe? Did you keep everything clean?" Mickey instantly fired out. Naruto chuckled as that was how it was when Kushina was explaining the man in the mask, or later turned out to be Obito. He knew that Mickey and Kushina would have been fast friends if they had the chance to meet. Naruto noticed Goro had returned as well, having changed from his work clothes into something more casual and comfortable. "To answer everything, yes, I have been fairly well. I was lucky enough to win the lottery when I was moving around, so money was no issue." That was the fabricated story, easy enough to believe as some people don't like advertising their winnings. It makes them an easy target for criminals. "I opened a club here now," he threw that out there as well. "Like a nightclub?" Mickey inquired. "Yeah, mainly. I might have it open as a normal bar during the day. Not too sure yet. I did invest a pretty penny into it. Gives me something to do as I stick around for a little bit," Naruto informed, much to the joy of his parents. "That is good to hear. Anything else happened?" Mickey asked, taking a sip of her tea. "This might be interesting, but I met some people around the world and adopted a few." Mickey almost dropped her cup, and Goro looked baffled. Naruto smiled, both at their reaction and some of his little one's antics. "Oh my, father experience already," Mickey sang before a mischievous glint entered her eyes. "Is there a woman on the scene?" Naruto smiled, showing his hand. He counted off each of them. "There were 4 boys and a girl. I offered to adopt her, but she turned me down, so I think she might have a crush on me. The boys wanted me to adopt them. They can all be a bit of a handful, but I love them as if they are my children." He didn't answer about any woman on the scene yet, but he knew a few had their eyes on him. "Very hands-on? Did they travel with you?" Goro asked, intervening for the first time in the conversation, excited at the prospect of grandchildren. Yeah, they saw quite a bit of the world, they are all very close to one another and help each other, so there isn't much more I could ask of them. An idea sprung to mind. You both should come over and meet them soon. I got to enroll them in Co-Academy in the next few days. I decided it was time for them to put down roots, and no time like the present. Mickey and Gora looked delighted at his other. Naruto knew how much they wanted grandchildren, and whilst his children might be grown up, there was still no reason they couldn't experience that joy. Where is Issei? I thought he would have been home by now. Glancing up at the clock, Naruto was surprised to find it was nearly 5 o'clock. Time flies, Mickey pointed out absent-mindedly. Issei has been busy with this new club he joined. That instantly drew Naruto's interest. Club? Yeah, the occult research club as he called it, that froze the blood in his veins. Rias owned that. He would need to see Issei very soon, tomorrow at the earliest. Sorry, we know how happy he would have been to see you, Mickey apologized with a grim look. Waving it off, Naruto smiled reassuringly, even if he didn't feel it. It's fine, I'll stop by his school tomorrow. I want to organize something for my club, so I was going to pop around there and see if I could get any volunteers. Naruto spoke out. It's fine honestly, but we will need to have dinner all of us. I know my children are dying to meet their grandparents. Naruto got to his feet, his parents stood up with him and walked him to the door. Embracing them both one more time, he hugged his mother for a moment longer. I love you both, Naruto said with a smile targeted at them. We both love you too, they warmly returned. Naruto gave one last smile followed by a wave before leaving, walking down the pavement. When he was out of sight, his smile instantly vanished, and his eyes narrowed. Issei being a part of the ORC was troubling, then that must mean he is a devil. If that was true, then there must be a reason he was reincarnated, and Drake could not be entirely the reason. The lack of a draconic aura surrounding the house gave that impression. He would need to question him tomorrow, and then explain how he knew of the supernatural. Oh joy, he wasn't going to explain everything. That would be too much pressure, especially when he was questioned by Rias. Best to give enough, but only that. He would put some protection on the house, make sure Mickey and Gora were safe. Only back a few hours and things were already getting spicy. He hoped things didn't go out of control too quickly, or else the Cows Brigade would become known sooner than he wanted. Ophis might be naive enough to believe her power would keep them compliant, but he knew otherwise. They would lie to her, and she would believe them. Only his group and the hero faction were loyal, and that was too mainly himself. Ophis truly only had him. He dreaded to imagine what it would be like without his intervention. His group worked tirelessly, setting up for the worst-case scenario, and Naruto appreciated everything they gave because it came from them. Naruto stopped for a moment when he thought about the hero faction. He wasn't blind, even they had their darkness that couldn't be expunged. He tried, and for the moment he had failed, but he guided it away from innocence, for the time being. A shiver ran down his spine when he thought about the chaos God's treasures could inflict. Naruto was truly lucky to have met them first. He didn't want to kill his children, and he would fight to keep them from falling too much into the darkness, but if it was a last resort, then he would do what he must. With enough of those self-deprecating thoughts out the way, he disappeared in a flash of gold, briefly illuminating the dark pathway. The moment Naruto reappeared, his face retaining a grim expression. Even though he had only been in Ko for not even a day, and yet already everything had soured. Oh joy! The area, the former ninja, Flash 2, was a stark comparison to his current mood. The area was lush and gave off a serene feeling. Naruto could almost instantly feel his frustrations washing away. The place he'd come to was his home for the duration of his stay in Ko. Whilst Naruto walked up the gravel pathway, he took a moment to soak in the landscape. His gardener took pride in her work, that much was obvious. All he saw was a bed of white. Crouching down, he remembered Faith looking at this particular flower. Chrysanthemum, the white variation. When he questioned her, she responded that a white one signified loyalty and devoted love, yellow represented neglected love or even sorrow. Everyone in their group contributed something. Some were more physical-orientated, some were more spiritually based, some technical. The point is that everyone brought something to the table. The garden looked tended to today, it looked all neat and presentable. Naruto picked up on a faint aroma in the air this evening, something calming. Feeling its effects, this was Fate's work at hand, but instead of complaining, he allowed it to relax him further. That is when he saw the house. Well, the mansion would be a more fitting label for it. With the current size of their group in mind, it had made sense to invest a bit more in its design. He tried to keep it from being too ostentatious. He liked to think he succeeded there. That didn't mean it didn't hold any aesthetic value. The building, standing tall at just over 3 stories and quite wide, being more rectangular. The front of the mansion held the most sets of windows to allow the morning gaze to shine through. The side and the back were fairly vacant of such a thing, preferably darker. There was a roof garden for anyone wishing to relax or sunbathe up there or do it by the pool. Naruto tried to get a little something for everyone to enjoy, but when people varied so much in both hobbies and other tastes, it got to be a little ridiculous. Aesthetic value didn't matter much to Naruto on a personal level, he would choose practical value anytime. That is why he kept the house as simple as he could, bright, big enough and practical. The real treasures lied inside. Oh well, moving on. Reaching the mouth of the walkway, feeling a significant amount calmer than when he first appeared here. Walking up to the door, Naruto wrapped his hand around the handle for a moment before opening it. He wished he could thank his godfather. Fuinjutsu made everything easier if only you had the imagination. A specialized seal had been placed on the handle. Everyone who lived here had their genetic coding placed on it, so the security measure wouldn't trigger. Soon as his foot crossed the threshold, the light flickered and came to life. The ground floor was the most basic, the kitchen station to the right, a few different bathrooms scattered around, and both a lounge and a sitting room. When people were present, they would normally stay in their little bubbles, some were more social than others. The second floor was mainly guest rooms, and the third floor was where everyone had their own assigned rooms, no matter if they stayed in them or not. None of them wanted to share, so they each had the luxury of a room for themselves. Sparing a speedy glance at the clock, Naruto knew his children were expected to arrive soon. Despite that, he knew better than to hold his breath, especially during their teenage phase. Making his way to the kitchen, eager to have something tasty and soothing prepared for when they arrived. At that moment, he felt a terrifying signature, instead of showing fear. Naruto's form remained perfectly relaxed, and he smiled before turning around, to greet one of the first to join his group and by far one of his biggest powerhouses. A man of tall stature, fair-skinned, was standing in front of Naruto, his height extended a little over Naruto's own. Blackish eyes with roughly shoulder-length, wavy, grayish-white hair. He had a short mustache and a lengthy, mildly thin beard that fell to his upper torso. Now as for the clothes, he wore a long white and purple robe, consisting of two major pieces, a long garment that descended far past his knees, with a tattered bottom edge, and intricately designed linings were on the end of his sleeves, including a line of dark lozenges, and a shorter, more billowing garment laid above it, only over his chest area. His longer garb was kept tied together with a thin light girdle made of a rope-like material. A dark-colored cape is additionally above both parts of his robe, jutting out in sharp, more elongated lozenge-shaped spikes around the back of his head. The Uzumaki clan symbol was proudly emblazoned on it, replacing the Alvarez Empire that used to reside there. It was kept in place by a long, much less wide cloth tied around it, and his neck, which was held by a spherical dark clip. He had foregone his dark ring on his right middle finger, but he had his signature staff recreated, a thin piece of wood with a purple oval-shaped crystal at its peak. Finally, to finish off his outfit, a set of dark high boots. Here stood August Drangneil, son of Zerif Drangneil and Mavis Vermilion. I could feel your energy signature fluctuating from the moment you appeared. What is troubling you, Naruto-sama? August inquired in a grandfatherly tone. Despite having calmed a bit, he explained the events of the day. From his time spent with Ophis to leaving his parents' home. I see, August responded as he stroked his beard. I know it's stupid, but I knew that I should have put surveillance here or someone at the very least. Naruto lamented over his poor decision, massaging the bridge of his nose with his hand. I grew overconfident, and the lack of any talk regarding the Red Dragon Emperor only made it worse. I figured everything was fine. I bet you this has something to do with Rias. I heard that Layla's brat was pushing for their engagement to be moved forward. Naruto theorized as both he and August walked into the kitchen. Naruto taking a seat at the counter while August stood on the opposite side. Instead of replying, August retrieved a glass and poured some cold water into it. Tapping the ground gently with his staff, a few ice cubes appeared in it. Turning back toward Naruto, he placed the glass down within reach. Naruto shot him a grateful smile, taking it in hand, emptying a third of it before putting it down. He took a moment to contemplate his next move. If Issei had been reincarnated into a devil, Rias must have seduced him, or allowed him to be killed. If the latter proven to be true, then that wouldn't help his feelings regarding her faction. August? Naruto asked, breaking the silence in the room. Yes, Naruto-sama? The aged wizard dutifully responded. If I took a stand against the corruption of the supernatural world, would you still stand by me? Naruto asked. Everyone involved in his group had become something of a surrogate family to him, standing tall beside him through thick and thin. Even after this, he still had a little voice in the back of his mind, saying how there was a limit to what could be asked. August had been a steadfast supporter to both him and everyone else. Naruto valued his opinion above most. He needed to hear what the wizard would say, if only to confirm he would be traveling the right path. August could feel this would be a turning point for his leader. He knew that true change, especially in this world, would take a lot of blood to be shed. Innocents would be involved by either them or their enemies. He had not been afraid to shed a little blood when he helped form his father's empire. He could still picture that day so long ago, passing through the dark, all cold and alone. Until he felt them, two creatures of immense power. Naruto floated before him with Office, seeking his help for a better tomorrow. If they were able to pass through the nothingness, then they could have easily forced his loyalty and servitude, but they hadn't. Naruto had only asked for one thing: to be unprejudiced, and look with an open mind and not let his past dictate his decision. It hadn't taken long to see who he was. Naruto treasured humanity more than anything. He loved everyone, he tended to the elderly, played with the children, gave an ear to anyone who needed it. He took on the mantle of humanity's guardian, to protect their future and continue their survival. He followed Zeref, even with his curse, even if his father never knew he had a son. Naruto had never tried to be a father figure to him, but Naruto did fill the role of a son, needing guidance in difficult times. Back when they first met, Naruto had never taken a life, being that dedicated to the preservation of life. Everyone had only heard tales of rumors of Naruto's time during the Great War that had taken place before their group assembled. It was the Devil's Civil War that had him clenching his staff tight enough for it to creak under the pressure. Something terrible must have happened because the light in his leader had dimmed and he was willing to take a life when he returned to them. August had known only two people who could have such knowledge, Irene or Office. Both would never tell a soul. Office is obvious, Naruto being her first friend. Irene was surprising though, that is a whole different thing though. If there was something August knew for sure, there was a darkness that had been born in his leader from the Civil War. He prayed they would never have to experience a traitor in their group. He feared for Naruto's psyche. Adopting his children had been helpful with keeping that darkness at bay, but they had their own to keep in check. There was something seriously wrong with this world. It just kept piling and piling, issue after issue, and Naruto shouldered it all. So yet, despite everything that would and could happen, August believed Naruto was worth following. Steeling himself, he prepared to give his answer. Looking the blonde dead in the eye. I swear here and now that I will stand by you, so would the entirety of the Regeneratorum, but now is not the best time to take a stand against them. The Chaos Brigade cannot remain in the darkness for much longer. Certain people are becoming restless with the lack of progress in their ambition. August paused for his words to settle in. It might be a childish thought, but they might come to their senses and realize their folly. If they do not and you deem no redemption available for them, you know that some of our people would be delighted in the opportunity to take the fight to them. Irene was one of the most vocal in favor of violence. August finished with a grumble. A genuine smile came across his features, getting to his feet. Naruto rested an arm over August's shoulders despite the slight height difference. The aged wizard returned the affection with a grandfatherly smile. After a moment of silent gratitude, Naruto returned to his seat and took another sip of water. Then something came to mind. Do you have an idea where Irene is? I couldn't sense her signature on the premises? August clicked his tongue in annoyance. I fear she is most likely soaking in the hot springs. You know exactly how she is now. He responded with a rare roll of his blackish eyes. Come now, since she got her humanity restored, she is enjoying everything she missed. Naruto defended her while scratching his cheek. A faint dust of pink colored his normally tan cheek. Remembering a time when he came to check on her during her time spent soaking. Yes, losing something for 400 years, then spending over 1,000 attempting to reacquire it. August countered with sarcasm. Yet when someone annoys her she'll go all dragon on them. Doesn't seem like she has changed much. Despite the negativity of his comment, he did chuckle good-naturedly at the end. Naruto grinned. Despite how it appeared, he knew that August was fond of Irene, both having come from the same dimension. He never told August, but it was Irene who guided them to him, leaving that for her to decide if and when she wanted to reveal such information. I won't claim to know what she was like before, but we both cannot deny that she is calmer and happier now. I do find her more aggressive side so sexy until she goes ultra dominatrix. Still hot, but she can be a very creative girl when she puts her mind to something. He remarked with a knowing grin. If Irene could hear him speak of their occasional activities, then she would rip him a new one before taking them to the bedroom to calm her down. Their relationship had originally started as comrades but then evolved into occasional lovers. That is how he found out about her sadomasochistic fetish. With a body like that, having her so submissive, he struggled to word it correctly, although he made sure to switch up who had control. August looked like he swallowed a lemon, but before he could form any words, a bright light erupted from the entrance war. Naruto's eyes narrowed for a moment before they brightened tremendously. Otasama? A soft and shy voice came from the direction of the light. Naruto downed the remains of his glass before getting to his feet and moving swiftly to greet his children. Entering the next room after only a moment, he saw all 5 of them standing there, looking a little scuffled but otherwise all A-okay. Despite not seeing them for a short amount of time, Naruto instantly spotted the one who called out to him earlier, scooping him in his arms for a bone-crushing hug. Wah! Though tears trailing down his face. August, look at how much they have grown. Soon they won't need me. Leo, promise me you'll never grow up. Said mentioned boy, sweat dropped as his adopted father threatened to drown them in his tears. Those stupid treasures have somehow evolved and speeding up their growth, Naruto whispered as if just uncovered something. August walked aside in annoyance, a common action when Naruto was showing his more goofy side to his children. Leo or Leonardo, wielder of the Annihilation Maker, one of the top 5 Longinus sacred gears. He appeared to be a short, dark-skinned young boy, with gray-blue hair and bright violet-colored eyes. He was wearing a dark purple gakurin with a matching colored coat with golden trimming on top of it. Oh, you haven't greeted the rest of us. All you did was grabbed Leo and started bawling like a baby. A more masculine voice interjected. Why won't Nakun greet me like that? The lone female of the group wailed. Back not even 5 minutes and I already want to leave, a very smooth voice spoke out, being careful not to poke anything with his signature spear resting on his shoulder. Oh, Chow, stop being so broody. Don't think just because you have that toothpick you're immune to my punishment, or I'll call Irene. We both know she would love that. Naruto responded to the leader of the hero faction, taking joy in the ashen look that came over his face. Apologies, Otosama. I know how creative Okasama can be in her choice of punishment. The hero descendant tried to hide how much that bothered him. He ignored the toothpick comment knowing his father would carry on if he showed any weakness. Perhaps you could let Leo go, father, he isn't supposed to be purple. Chow cheekily intervened, saving Leo as Naruto eye twitched. Come on then, let me get a look at you, Naruto told them. His terror had all but vanished, and he didn't look as goofy as he did a second ago. He pretended not to notice the grateful look his youngest shot the eldest. Chow is a handsome young man, with short raven-colored hair and striking blue eyes. He was wearing a combination of the gakurin, one mostly wore in the fall, and ancient Chinese attire. He was also the leader of the hero faction, eldest of his children and the wielder of the true Longinus or toothpick as Naruto referred to it. The masculine voice that spoke out earlier was Heracles, a tall man standing at 2 meters tall, with a well-built body and shoulder-length gray hair. Like everyone else here, he wore a gakurin with Greek-inspired armor covering him. George, the only one who hadn't spoken since arriving. Like everyone else he wore a gakurin, and also like everyone else, he had something different over it. A burgundy-colored mage-style robe with a feathered cape. He had light brown hair and glasses. He was also another Longinus user, for the dimension lost. Now for the final member, and the only one that did not accept his offer of adoption. Jean, a beautiful young foreign woman, with silky blonde hair that reached her lower back and deep sky-blue eyes. Like her male companions, she wore gakurin, but of the female variation, with a skirt. She wore some armor for her upper body, which just about covered her large. The armor was mainly orange with parts of yellow mixed in. When Naruto's eyes met Jean's, she blushed prettily and looked away cutely. Seeing his inspection over, he asked one thing he had been dying to. You all have been eating proper, haven't you? Sapphire eyes narrowed. None of that fast food bullshit? The room grew tense. August smiled softly at seeing their reactions to such simple questions. Chow found anything else better to look at than Naruto. Jean blushed in embarrassment. Heracles froze. George found something interesting to stare at by his feet, and little Leo. The young man tugged on his sleeve. Naruto directed his attention to him. Sorry, Otosama, but that is all we ate, Leo revealed. Naruto's eye twitched a bit more, glancing at each of them for a moment to see if that was the truth. None would meet his eyes. Unfortunately, speaking about their past eating habit made him realize that he completely forgot about doing them something earlier. One more night wouldn't hurt. After his talk with August earlier and the dark thoughts, any specialness that would have gone into the meal's preparation. Glancing over his shoulder, he looked at August, who looked to be reading his mind, gave him a solemn look in return before one head nod. I guess we can deal one more night with that stuff, he told them with a smile. It became more genuine when he heard their cheer. With everyone having retired for the night, Naruto was resting in his room with a small smile on his face. If you were to look out the window, you could see a blanket of darkness except for the faint glow of Ko in the background. Truthfully, he had desired more time with his children, but Chow, being the leader and eldest brother, desired for them to get some rest, and Naruto didn't have the heart to refuse it. So after agreeing for another night of that ridiculous food, August and George, being the most experienced in magic, made a quick teleportation circle and disappeared for a short while. When they returned, everyone got their meal and watched a little bit of some drama bullshit before heading to bed. Naruto glanced at Jean, being a touch more restless, and assumed he would be getting a visit from her tonight. Naruto knew that he had been a pillar for Jean, something for her to cling to. Chow Chow and George had recruited most of the members for the hero faction, but a few had been recruited by himself. Her being one of them. Naruto had been in the area when he detected such despair and anguish that he couldn't turn away from it, rushing in the direction of such powerful negative emotion. When he came upon the scene, his vision went, and he saw only red before he felt such raw fury. Diodora Astaroth, a young-looking devil, who had a fetish for anything holy. Only he took it a step too far and decided to break them, dropping them into a pit of despair. What was worse, Ajuka knew about his little brother's fascination and did nothing, swallowing down the bile at those thoughts. Jean had been tortured, hanging from a makeshift cross, held up with magic, but Diodora had been sloppy, felt they were secured, without interruption. He was wrong, dead wrong. The second he made himself known, Diodora had summoned his peerage. Naruto cared little and tore them apart. He ripped them to shreds, leaving bits here and there before finally reaching the little bastard. Then with a solid yank, he ripped off his left arm and left him to bleed out on the floor surrounded by his scattered peerage. He should have made sure and killed him then and there, but he had been more focused on Jean. Destroying the binds that bound her, he cradled her in his arms as he healed her the best he could. Seeing a flash of light from behind him, when he turned his head around he saw Diodora had been teleported away. He guessed by someone else because he left his arm behind. When he was left alone with the girl, healing her as best he could. He did pass a glance around at the corpses. He didn't feel pity at that moment, but after he learned the truth of Diodora's fascination with holy things, he did give a silent apology to them. Leaving that sick area, he brought Jean somewhere he knew she would be safe. His healing had definitely raised her chances of survival, but he felt worried for her mental state. When she recovered enough to wake up, she was panic-stricken. Naruto gave her the space she needed whilst doing his best to calm her. After she was comfortable enough, she confided in him the full story. Diodora was too arrogant and disclosed everything he was going to do to her, and everything he did to every member that served him in his peerage. Naruto swore right then and there that he would finish him off for definite the next time he saw him. Though to his surprise, Jean told him that she would be the one to put down the filthy devil, even going as far as to swear herself to him. He accepted her request but denied her swearing herself to him. That only served to draw her closer to him. As she healed, Naruto knew she was a lonely soul, so he tried to bond with her. He spoke to her as herself, he played games with her. He sat back and listened intensively as she about her life in the church. Due to her having the spirit of the Maiden of Orleans, everyone had deemed her to be unapproachable, and she lived life on a pedestal. What struck him the most was when she told him how lonely she had been. He gently held her hand in his own and told her she would never know such loneliness again. Everything had been smooth sailing from there. Once she had made a full recovery, he introduced her to the hero faction, who at that point only had members. Naruto knew that Jean's loyalties were with him more than Chow Chow. He also knew that she would follow almost any order given to her, within reason. But still, it never did hurt to have someone on the inside, and as much as he loved his children, he knew they would withhold some stuff from him. He just hoped that he never needed to use her position in the future. Naruto's eye caught the small amount of light from the door, and the slight creak. He was right as Jean poked her head through, giving him a sheepish smile that made her look so adorable. "You can come in, I have been expecting you." That must have come out differently than in his mind because her face went bright red. Quickly recovering though, he grinned as he realized she must be having dirty thoughts. Taking a quick breath, she recovered and stepped through the door. Jean had decided on a modest nightdress tonight. It was white and not transparent, but gathered she still had her bra and panties on. Naruto sat up a little bit and gave a warm smile. He knew she still felt the fight or flight instinct when alone with a guy, even him. So he showed a little bit of visible relief when her posture relaxed a little bit and she took a deeper breath, before closing the door. Watching her slowly make her way closer to him, each step allowed her to feel more comfortable. As she neared the bed she sat down on the edge. Jean looked around the room to see if anything had changed since the last time she was here. Naruto by far had the most Spartan room out of everyone, except maybe Alma. The lack of expressing herself, given her condition, could easily be excused, although Naruto had been more of a minimalist. He only had what he would need. He didn't spend on pointless baubles, only what he deemed a necessity. That is why he only had a king-sized bed, a wardrobe and a desk and chair. Oh yeah, he also had orange bed sheets. She remembered the one time she playfully mocked him for them. He laughed it off and blamed that on his parents. He told her a bit about them, how his mother had red hair and his father had yellow. She would never admit it for fear of dying of embarrassment, but his love of orange is what inspired her battle armor's primary color to be just that. Eventually, her sky blue locked onto his sapphire. "Hey," she greeted with a sweet smile and a small amount of nervousness. "Hi," he responded with a laid-back grin. "Not that I am not happy to see you, but what you doing here? I gathered you would want your own bed tonight?" he asked her softly, gently scratching the top of his head. "Why do you think I came here?" tilting her head as if it was obvious. "We haven't seen each other for a month, and I wanted to spend time with you." Her expression then took a dive. The nightmares have come back of that day. Her finger gently trailed down her arm before she cringed a little as if she could still feel the phantom pain of that day. That day had been both her worst and one of her best. The worst because it planted the seeds for her hatred of devils. She grew to hate most of the supernatural, but devils would always be at the peak of her anger. That is why whenever they went after a devil, it got her a little murder happy, and she would kill them all if she could, but she wasn't strong enough to take them on. Her greatest despite the pain she felt that day, and after. It led her to meet with Naruto. Being taken in by him, nursed back to health, being so close to him used to give her tummy a funny feeling. Like Jumpy, her face would get really warm and she would sometimes feel lightheaded when he did that Naruto smile. It was bizarre and frightening, but Naruto's packed magician explained after noticing, and it felt like a brand new world became available to her. She desired Naruto. Despite her hesitance to act on those feelings, he let her move at her own speed. His light was reaching her. No matter how dark her world became, he would be there for her. To comfort her, and one day she would express how important he truly was to her. Naruto continued to watch her, his eyes both patient and caring. He moved a little to the right, letting her claim the left. He blinked when she slowly moved closer to him until she was within touching range. Her hand wrapped around his left forearm, raising it up a little as she crept underneath it before resting it over her. Jean completely missed his astonished gaze. Her heart rate increased drastically at the bold move. Finding strength in the warmth emitting from his body, she felt like she overcame something. It felt euphoric to the young maiden. Her face heated up drastically. Taking an internal breath, she dug her face further into his chest. Naruto gulped, shutting his eyes to stop the moisture that threatened to build. He then tried blinking rapidly. When they refused to budge, he gave up. He was surprised by the bold action, but damn was he proud of her. He gave her a faint kiss on her crown, taking in the scent of her shampoo. He didn't do anything else and just held her close to him. It then became quiet between the two. Jean's face was still Nova, but returning to her usual color. Naruto took this opportunity to think. He had garnered an idea of how she felt about him, definitely something of more than a friend. He wasn't oblivious anymore. He could either see or sense how women felt as he passed them, even among the supernatural. Jean, though, was entirely different. Her world had almost been stripped away, and a part of him wanted to stay her friend, but he couldn't deny what he felt, a bubble in his chest when he saw her. He was attracted to her most definitely. He would never deny that. He knew she was attracted to him, but he didn't know the depth of her love. He had at the time pretended to not catch her longing glances at him. After her experience with Diodora, she shied away from intimacy. That is why he was so shocked by her bold move, and why he gave her a kiss to show her that he was proud of her without voicing it. When he first met her and healed her, he tried to fill the role of a surrogate father, but she made it clear she didn't need that. She desired someone to stand by her, whom she could trust with her entirety, someone who could lift her when she fell or carry her if needed. He wanted to be that for her, but he would be patient and allow her to decide on the speed of furthering their relationship. Basically, he let her decide it between them, giving her as much time as she needed. A storm was coming, he could feel it. Unknowingly, he hugged her a bit closer. Her eyes flickered for a moment before closing, a peaceful expression on her face. The Dimension Traveler decided it was time to discuss his fear about Issei now. He couldn't risk Jean finding out on her own. He breathed in deep through his nose, before exhaling softly. "Jean?" he asked tentatively. The drifting blonde replied. "I fear Issei might have become a devil," Naruto admitted and regretted it instantly. Her eyes snapped open, her body grew tense, and started to shake slightly. Naruto channeled more chakra to his body, giving off a feeling of safety and security. He saw it working when she calmed down, resting her head in the crook of his neck as if hiding from the world. "We might have to fight him one day." It wasn't a question. "I was happy to meet someone connected to Nakuin, and now that person is a filthy devil." Her last word was like acid, and even Naruto mentally recoiled at the hate in it. "Issei was showing signs of heavy perversion before I left," Odin gave a speech about. "I managed to avoid him detecting me here." Naruto was lucky to dodge the leader of the Norse pantheon, not out of fear. Even if the old man threw everything he had at him, he would still triumph in the end. Odin did have more experience, whilst he had raw power and experience with his equipment. That means either he was seduced or killed and reincarnated. Narrowing his eyes, his expression darkening. I know they will use him against us, and with the boosted gear he could be a threat. I will fight him if I must, but only last resort. Jean didn't respond for a moment, bringing her head out, and giving him a meaningful look. You really are committed to this? It is a last resort. I asked August earlier if he would stand by me if it does come to taking a stand against them. His eyes flickered, sleep was getting ready to claim him. Jean, I know how much you hate them, but if some do come to our side, I need to know that I can trust you to not slaughter them on sight. He looked her in the eye. As long as they are not like him, I won't aim to cut their throats. Her words came out in a hiss. I will tolerate their continued existence, but I will never be their friend. I gather you have some people in mind? She felt his nod, she sighed. I see. Not everyone is a villain, some have been abused as much as humanity. I seek those who would benefit humanity. We have my group and the hero faction. There are some who will help humanity, those who would stand against us must be crushed. I am tired of seeing people die by those of nobility who would then hide behind their titles. They need to know someone is out there, who will do something about them. You won't be alone if you decide to take that course of action. Then we will follow you, Jean said before doing her last bold move of the night, a faint kiss on his chest. I am going to sleep, so shush, night Nakuin. Jean closed her eyes as sleep came for her. Good night, Jean-chan, Naruto replied mentally, closing his eyes, and within minutes it was his turn to be claimed by sleep. Naruto hoped he wouldn't be in trouble when he got home. He left Jean to get some more rest while he went to reunite with his brother. He did mean what he told her last night. He would fight him if it came to it, no matter how much it would pain him, but he needed to know the truth first. One thing he definitely did was create a clone to switch places with him. He didn't want Jean to think he had left her after the progress she made last night. Ko Academy definitely didn't take him too long to find. It was too visible, although it did perfectly play the role of a prestigious institution, and being a front for both Rias and Sona's duration in the human world. Naruto made a mental note to have Donna spy on those two. He needed to start taking more of an active role in the supernatural world. Brushing that thought aside for the moment, he contemplated changing his current outfit. Either the female population were starved of male attention or he was drop-dead gorgeous. Either way, it was starting to grate his nerves. Thank Yahweh that Jean was not present, or she would have had her stake victim dragoon on them by now. He did smile fondly at the thought. His eyes narrowed when he detected traces of demonic energy in the nearby vicinity. If they were close to him, or had him in their sight, they must be exercising caution. Smart move. He finally saw who he had been waiting for, Issei Hayadu. Looking exactly like their father, only a more youthful version. He wore the standard Ko uniform with a red shirt underneath his jacket. Naruto smiled a little when he saw him, but noted how he stopped and froze, seeing a look of pure terror on his face. He hummed to himself before making his presence known. Yo, Otoro-kun, Naruto called out as the world seemed to freeze. The female population instantly looked between them rapidly, back and forth as if trying to comprehend how they were related. Naruto didn't let their stares bother him. Pushing himself off the wall, he walked over to his brother with a cheerful grin. Wrapping an arm over his shoulder, the girls around them began to gossip. No one noticed, but Naruto's grin faltered for a split second and turned false. He could detect demonic energy emanating from Issei. Okay, now he had mentally prepared for this conclusion, but to actually feel it was different. Basically, this situation pissed him off greatly. His grip tightened. I can see a great deal has changed, brother, Naruto whispered to Issei, low enough for only him to hear. I can feel you are a devil. Now who is your master? Naruto asked with an ugly expression taking hold of his face. Issei desperately wanted to respond, but shock and fear had overcome him. Mother and father had been so joyful yesterday, saying Naruto had come home. He would have loved to greet him, but the incident with that psycho priest had come up, and seeing Asia again with such a fiend. He wanted to show his brother the world of Ipei, and yet when he heard Naruto greet him, his devil instinct started going haywire. As if a threat had presented itself, but it was only his brother. Then when he asked about his master, the perverted young male's mind instantly went to Rias, and the expression his brother was making was starting to frighten him. Only one thing was worse. Naruto knew about the supernatural. Seeing that look, the intensity of his gaze had sent a chill down his spine, and not the good kind. Even almost dying to free never caused this much fear. He felt so small. Despite being small, he found his voice. Arias G. Gremory, he stuttered out. Finally getting a name, Naruto's expression shifted to a more gentle one. patting his brother on the shoulder softly. I know you are confused and have a lot to ask, I will answer them later. But first, I need to speak to your master about something? Naruto replied before letting go of his brother, turning around as he walked through the threshold of the academy. Feeling the gaze of everyone on him, not just the students. Although they stared at him as if he were a piece of meat to be devoured, shaking his head in annoyance. He shut his eyes and honed in on Rias' signature, or what he felt close to it from what he gathered from Issei. It did not even take a second for him to lock onto her, not even bothering to suppress it. Arrogant, let us have a look. Naruto walked in a calm manner in the direction of the signature. A new unforeseen piece of information had come to light, and it could potentially be most troubling. Rias sat in the old school building, her queen and best friend Akino arriving shortly after her. Her knight Kiba and rook Kaneko were in their first class of the day. Normally she and Akino would be in their own, but she asked Sona if they could be excused, as they pondered this new source of information. A few days ago, Rias had reincarnated Issei Hayadu, whom she believed to be holding a dragon-styled sacred gear, but not quite sure which one he possessed. When she told him about the supernatural, wanting to see what he held, but to her slight disappointment it seemed to be twice critical. Last night when he filled in for Kaneko with a client, he ran into a rouge exorcist and his connection to a nun. He let it slip about a most troubling piece of information. He had an elder brother. Normally this would have been easy to manage, except there was something not right about him. Everyone held a sort of paper trail, a digital footprint if you will, but there was nothing tangible she could use against him. The main thing she found out about him was that he left Ko around the same time as Cleria Belial, who died in mysterious circumstances. There were also few pictures linking him in various countries helping the poor and sick, and visiting various orphanages. Yes, she could use them, but she was not willing to resort to harming children to get one over someone. Not even at her lowest point would she do that. Naruto Hayadu, a man who experienced the world, won a foreign lottery, setting him up for life money-wise, also potential link to other pantheons. It felt wrong, it didn't add up to her. Why did he really leave? How strong could he be now? Was he knowledgeable of the supernatural, or was his appearance in these countries a stroke of luck? If he did in fact know of them, how high was he on the food chain? With his reappearance, a pit settled in her stomach. She made a mental note to confront him later on. If he was, in fact, an average human, then she would remove his memory of their encounter and let him go on living his life. Until then he was a puzzle she desired to solve. Her pondering was shattered when her door was violently slammed open. The wood creaked and looked like it could fall off its hinges. Much to their surprise, as they didn't feel anyone approaching the clubhouse, and couldn't sense him as a man walked right into the room. Rias quickly regained her composure and put on her best smile, as she caught sight of the man who entered her den in a very brutish manner. He was very handsome, even more than in the picture. A new realm of possibilities presented itself. Her greed taking the initiative for the moment. He definitely wasn't normal if she still couldn't feel him even standing a few feet in front of her. Could she sway him to her side? Hello, might you be so kind as to explain why you booted in my door? Rias took the lead as her duty as a king, her queen Akino giving a smile whilst she tried to analyze the man as best she could, his posture not giving anything away. Naruto looked at her for a moment, before deciding against answering her at this moment. Walking a bit further in, he sat on the sofa and wiggled around a little until he got comfortable. Then he gave her a haughty smirk. Well, my hand wouldn't budge, so naturally my foot had to suffice. He glanced over his shoulder at the door before returning to her. As you can see, it did the job. Naruto internally felt ill, but he chose to play the arrogant hombre for the time being. So you gotta be the master of my baby bro. Gotta say, except looking like Serzex, you don't emit the same presence as he does. That got both their attention, Rias deciding to let the issue about the door slide for now. Rias looked him upon and down in an arrogant manner, as if she believed herself to be superior to him. Naruto's eye twitched at the blatant display. That sort of arrogance could get you killed one day. He idly wondered though if he was quick with his shit, could he make it back home to cuddle with Jean providing she was still in bed? I am guessing you to be Issei elder brother? Rias asked. Naruto wondered if she ignored what he said to piss him off. Yes, she probably did actually. Wanting to be a good sport, Naruto smirked. Let her believe she can control this dance. So you're aware of our world? It wasn't a question. And I guess me mentioning master was just a kink? Course I am aware of the supernatural. I have met many people from our world, some I've despised and those I despise I put down. Granted, I have developed an awfully low tolerance for those who like to treat humanity as if it was a toy. The smile he sent her way had the pit in her stomach growing larger. Like for example letting an innocent die and forcing them into servitude. You know what I mean, Rias? You mind if I call you Rias? I feel like we know each other enough now. The heiress was losing control of this situation, her confidence was dimming. She only knew about him for a day, but he knew more than he should about her. He knew her brother, and most likely her family. He must have gathered she let his brother die to add him to her peerage. His baiting pointed in that direction. He was acting familiar with her, and what made it worse was she couldn't attack him. It sounded like he knew her brother personally, so he must be more than she believed he to be. Attacking him now had a high chance of backfiring on her. Issei, her beloved pawn, could turn on her as a result of her actions. She only wanted a quiet morning. Rias, being so familiar with such a virile young man, Akino cooed, acknowledging the fact that her king needed time to gather herself. The hybrid could see how this man had forced her on the back burner with just a few placed sentences and a few stares. Regretting her decision when Naruto's sight was directed at her for a moment, and she swore his otherwise blue eyes flashed gold for a second. Her face blazed as she felt the sudden need to be submissive to him. "I thought I recognized you, your part fallen," Naruto stated bluntly, showing a lack of care as her expression soured. Clicking his fingers as if trying to remember something. "Shuri, no, you're her daughter Akino." Her eyes widened as she heard her mother's name from his mouth. "Damn, you're the spitting image of her. I was sorry to hear of what happened to her." Since he first entered the room, Akino saw a genuine remorseful expression from him. How did you know my mother? Who on earth are you?" Rias too was shocked. Nothing was making sense, and Naruto only created more questions than answers. Akino bit her bottom lip. Her desire of wanting to know his connection to her mother overshadowed the mention of her dirty blood. Naruto schooled his features in an instant. "I am Naruto Hayadu, a concerned elder brother, and I have met many people." Shifting his attention back to Rias, getting right to the point. "So you either killed my brother or you let him die. I am guessing it is to help with your engagement?" He no longer wished to play around anymore. He had given her enough of his precious time. "No, of course not. I simply stepped in and revived him. I wouldn't dream of pulling something so nefarious, especially with such a concerned elder brother on the scene." Rias attempted a half-truth. "You want to know something?" he asked. She nodded. "You need to learn to lie better. You only learned of my existence yesterday, so quit the bullshit." He bluffed, hoping Issei hadn't mentioned him to anyone before now. He had been playing on so little information, definitely getting Donna to make the necessary arrangements tonight. Rias' eyes darkened. Naruto didn't back down and matched her intensity for a moment, before he got to his feet. "Not going to ask me to join your peerage?" Naruto asked snidely. "Thought you would have, especially with your engagement to Layla's brat." Naruto's smile held no warmth. That appeared to be her breaking point. "How do you, who the fuck are you really?" Rias shouted, rising to her feet. In her hand was her bloodline. It went as planned. Naruto knew he had her now. His face flashed with an expression that frightened them both to their cores. "Your power doesn't frighten me. It is nothing compared to your brother's." He took a confident step toward them. "I know you let him die, but tell me who delivered the final blow. Tell me, or not even your brother will save you from my wrath." Naruto snarled like an animal. Some of his power bled through the seal on his jacket. He wanted a name, so he could strike them down. Rias' expression confirmed everything he believed. The bitch did allow his brother to be dragged into their world, for her own greed. Naruto knew that he would need to make his presence known to Sona before Rias would open her mouth and spread her poison. He wondered if she would be a disappointment like Rias. He prayed that she wasn't. When he closed his eyes, he could still picture them all on the battlefield, covered in so much blood and ash. "It was the fallen," Akino answered, her normally sensual expression washed away, as an ashen look took control. Reigning in his power, his expression lightened as he blessed the hybrid with a different look now. "Do you know where they are? Tell me and I'll leave?" Naruto implored in a softer tone of voice. "The abandoned church," Akino whispered easily. The young man was much easier to talk to when his overbearing power wasn't pressing down on him. Naruto gave her a more gentlemanly smile, dipping his head slightly before turning around and preparing to leave. "You didn't answer me," Rias hissed, her power of destruction roaring to life. Akino looked disappointed that her friend didn't take the easy option, but held her tongue this time. "You know it is only because of Akino answering my question in a civil manner that I didn't brutally torture you, and then dispose of your body." He said it in such a casual manner that they had to take his word for it. "I don't have to answer you for Jack, your brother can't even command me, but if you wish to know more then ask him about me or even Greyfia." Something different entered his tone as he mentioned her name. "I am positive they will be more than happy to speak about me if you ask, but let me give you some free advice." Glancing over his shoulder, locking eyes with her. Her expression widened, his eyes were a blazing gold with a slit down the middle. "Train, and train quickly. If you want your freedom, you got to fight for it and not take the easy route. Also be a better person or you might find someone will get annoyed with your continued existence. Not bothering anymore, he tucked his hands into his pockets and walked to the door. When he was out of sight, Rias slumped into her chair and her head fell onto the desk. Her only and most simple desire now was to crawl in bed and watch anime and forget about all this, also throw in some ice cream. Ice cream sounded so good right about now. A moment later her latest servant entered the room. Her desire would need to be put on hold for the time being. Rias needed some information. Anything she could get from Issei would be as valuable as gold. With a sweet smile she gestured him to come closer. Issei-kun, we need to talk. Her tone was too sweet. The future harem king started to sweat profusely as he walked closer. Akino recovered herself, putting her hand in front of her mouth with a quick era she watched with sadistic glee as Issei answered everything he could under Bucho's intense stare. Naruto rushed out of there, cloaking his signature again, and disappeared into one of the trees away from prying eyes. He was not happy at all, and realized that he should have stayed in bed with Jean. Rias let Issei be killed, so she could get a hold of him, and indirectly the boosted gear. Those slutty crows were here and now it was time to exterminate them. He might bring Tori and Jean to assist him. Then his eyes lit up, he knew exactly who to bring. He didn't need people to know of his connection to Tori yet, and the person he had in mind had yet to have a daily presence in Ko yet. Jean's role would be a vital one. If he could convince her to go along with it, this might cost him. The main reason he wanted to bring someone wasn't because of fear, oh god no. He only wanted the fallen who delivered the final blow, everyone else was fair game. Maybe it was time to reassemble everyone, get the band back together. A few of his people were scattered around the globe. And with August saying the Cow's Brigade would come to light, maybe it was time for a grand reunion of sorts. August's wisdom had rarely proven to be inaccurate. Another thing to add to his to-do list was finding Nishiki. That guy was probably between another woman's legs again. He'll make a plan for tonight. First off he must meet Sona and judge if she'll prove to be a disappointment as well. Using an old move from his previous world, his appearance shifted until he looked like the students of Ko Academy. Making it easier to move around the grounds, he moved into the main building, asking a random girl where he could find Sona. He kept his voice polite, and with a carefree smile that had the human putty in his hands. People were too trusting here, no wonder the supernatural world could prey on them easily. The girl with her cute blush gave him directions and off he was. He quickly found himself outside the student council room. He gave a knock and waited to enter. He didn't have to wait too long to be ushered in. When he entered the room, he imprinted the difference in demonic energy of both Rias and Sona, and their peerage members. The king herself greeted him first, her face as stoic as her mother's last time he saw her. Hello, how might I help you? The disguised former ninja smiled pleasantly at her. His eyes gave a quick scan of the room. All females and one male, he gathered this must be her full peerage, her queen stationed the closest, much like how Akino had been for Rias. Yes, I was hoping I could possibly have a moment of your time. Might I please take a seat? Sona smiled slightly, gesturing with her hand to the seat directly across the table from her. He noticed that Sona sat on the opposite side to him, her queen next to her, but the rest of her peerage sat on separate work tables around them, ready to defend their king at a moment's notice. He could see Sona had more intelligence than Rias, and if he was a lesser being then he might be nervous. Naruto took the seat with a smile, his posture excluding certain confidence. He sat down and crossed one leg over the other. Most of the other devils were continuing their work as if he wasn't there, except for the male who gave him a dirty look, not that Naruto cared enough to acknowledge it physically. What is it you wish to discuss? Sona asked curiously. I wanted to know which fallen angel killed Issei Hayada? The blunt approach was taken again. Let us see how they react. The room grew tenser at his question, and no one reacted in a violent manner. Naruto's eyes stayed on Sona's, hers widened a fraction, whilst his sharpened. Might I ask why you would care for a member of the perverted trio? Sona asked after a moment, her wits regathered and her expression was frosty. Naruto noted Sona taking a different approach than Rias, not denying or trying to lie to his face, which earned her a chance. You could say I am a concerned citizen, Naruto lied with a straight face. Issei is very dear to me and to see him reincarnated after being allowed to die, really gets on my nerves. Before Sona could counter him, the lone male of her group stood to his feet, tired of his apparent disrespect in his mind. You are speaking to the heiress of the Citri clan, show some more respect. He barked like a dog. Naruto turned his attention to him physically for the first time. He could see the arrogance leak from this boy, but what made it worse, he could also see how green this guy was to devilhood. Normally, I would respond in a calmer tone, but I have had a very bad morning. So I will say this once, you little scrub, Naruto responded with a snarl, scaring the bravado out of Saji. There are many creatures out there who would have killed you for the look you gave me when I entered, boy, so shut that hole you call a mouth before I tear out your throat. turn what remains to ash before freezing your throat gland and mounting it on my wall as a trophy. I don't make threats lightly, so be mindful of whom you speak to, boy." Everyone looked frozen and horrified at how descriptive Naruto's response was. He saw they were not expecting that, so why not drive the point home? He turned back to Saji with a smile. "Next time I hear you speak like that to me, I shall remember it, and one day you shall feel my wrath. You devils live a long life and so do I." For the finale, just like he did with Rias, he let out a sliver of his power. Saji dropping like a fly after that. Now with his point made, he returned his attention to the reason he came here. This must be the result of being sheltered, he gathered. Her face looked to be sweating a little, her face had turned pale, her expression showing how frightened she really was. "I had higher hopes for you than Rias. I expected you to be better than her, and to your credit you are, but not by much. Don't worry, I didn't harm the little bitch, no matter how much I wanted to. That whore let my brother die, then reincarnated him because she was too lazy and pathetic to get out her own fucking engagement to that little shit," he ranted, his disguise flashing briefly as he panted. As it turns out, one of the girls recognized him. "You're Naruto Haya," she exclaimed before Sona could. Naruto blinked. "Oh, you caught that?" he said, sounding generally surprised. A brow rose in her direction, she blushed at the intensity of his gaze. "What is your name? I haven't had a chance to meet such a beauty," he asked politely. "Raya Kosaka, a bishop in the service of Sona Citri," she shyly responded, dipping her head with a small smile. "You know, you're kinda cute. I would love to just eat ya up," Naruto sang, his verbal tick making a reappearance. His tone threw everyone off balance at the sudden change, whilst Raya blushed further. "Guess I might as well get rid of this disguise." A plume of smoke covered him before it dissipated. Everyone blushed at the sight of him, even Sona couldn't suppress it. Saji, who had got back to his seat, whispered "pretty boy" under his breath, clamming up when Naruto tilted his head in his direction. "Guess I might as well officially introduce myself. Name is Naruto Haidu, elder brother to Issei, and thoroughly pissed that my brother was allowed to die and then reincarnated by the same person. By a pathetic little brat who is too lazy to do anything to escape her engagement on her own." He paused for dramatic effect. "Questions?" Before anyone could ask, Sona stood to her feet and bowed her head slightly in his direction. "I think it best we all introduce ourselves before continuing, yes?" Naruto didn't smile, his expression changed from when conversing with Raya, but he did appreciate how polite Sona was. He nodded in her direction. Sona, being the king, took the first step. Sona was a bespectacled young woman with a slim figure. Her hair was black and styled in a short bob cut and had purple eyes. She was dressed in the Ko-Academy girls' school uniform. "My name is Sona Citri, but at school, I go by Sona Tori. I am the heiress to the Citri family and the king of this peerage." Bowing her head slightly. Tsubaki was also a young bespectacled woman. She had long straight hair that extended all the way down to her knees. Her eyes were heterochromatic, a violet left and a light brown right. She also wore the standard female outfit for Ko-Academy, same as the rest of them. Her glasses were light blue, semi-rimmed with square lenses. "My name is Tsubaki Shinra. I am the queen of the peerage." Next up, a young woman with snow-white hair and blue-green eyes. "My name is Momo Hanakai. I am a bishop in the service of Sona Citri." Her introduction was a bit soured. He sat her shooting glances at Saji and instantly came to the realization. She had a crush on the idiot. Poor girl. The next girl actually got him to smile a bit. The girl had a slim figure, with long silky brown hair that ended in two short braids, with matching colored eyes. She also had a blue headband. Her expression lightened. "You already know me, but I'll reintroduce myself. Raya Kosaka, the second bishop in the service of Sona Citri." She smiled cutely at him, no doubt his earlier attention to her playing a role in that. The next was a beautiful girl with shoulder-length, reddish-brown hair and brown eyes. Her hair features swept into bangs with a single strand of hair sticking out from the top. "My name is Tomo Megiri. I am a knight in the service of Sona Citri." Her introduction did get him to chuckle a little. Such an energetic girl. So far he had seen the king, queen, both bishops and a knight. He wondered what the last three were. The next to stand was a tall girl with blue shoulder-length hair and matching eyes. She looked to be a bit of a tomboy and had a bishounen face. "I am Tsubasa Yura, a rook in the service of Sona Citri." Her expression was a bit bland, not much enthusiasm. He still didn't mind it much. Now for the arrogant tool. They both stared at each other. Naruto with a look of disinterest. Saji looked like he wanted to speak, but his earlier threat was still strong. "I am Saji Genshiro, a pawn in the service of Citri," came the response. Naruto didn't even look like he was properly paying attention either. Saji was a young man with short blonde hair and gray eyes, wearing the male equivalent of the school uniform. Naruto just nodded and turned to the final girl. Much like Momo, this girl gave him the same look. Great, another girl crushing on the idiot. The girl was short with brown hair tied in 2 twin ponytails and she had green eyes. Her hair also had green clip accessories. She also wore striped green stockings. I am Muruko Nimura, a pawn in the service of Sona Citri. Naruto looked at each of them, counting: a king, queen, 2 bishops, 1 rook, and 2 pawns. The amount of demonic energy they were releasing was good for their age and numbers, but against an opponent who held both power and intelligence, it would matter little. Sona had her work cut out for her. Thank you for the introduction, Sona. Now anyone got a question? Inquiring with a smile. I have one? Rhea responded almost instantly. Apparently, she had to be the brave one right now. Everyone else was being cautious, even the king. Good. Go on, cutie. Naruto encouraged. Well, please don't take offense, but what are you here? You know who killed your brother and revived him, so why bother to make contact with us? She asked awkwardly, wondering how he would respond, no doubt. Well, with my return, I had opened a club well yet to officially open. So I wanted to do a charity event with the school for some publicity, that sort of thing. Scratching his whiskered cheek. Also, finding out your brother was reincarnated makes you curious about their master. There are a lot of shitty devils out there. Still, I'm kind of disappointed it wasn't you, Sona. I could imagine Issei loving it, surrounded by so many lovely ladies. You threaten me, don't give proper respect and now flirt with the girls. Saji raged, currently forgetting his earlier threat. Sona narrowed her eyes. Saji! Quiet! Her voice taking the fire out of him, as he sat down obediently. Sona looked to Naruto, who was staring at Saji with an unreadable expression. Coughing into her hand, he looked at her. Apologies, Naruto, he is new. Naruto's face didn't show any form of amusement. There are also some people I would like to enroll. They are here strictly for educational purposes. I must warn you though, any harm comes to them and I will not hold back. He explained it with an easygoing smile. Sona didn't doubt him. She would make sure Rias and her peerage were kept away from these people. The term has already begun, but I could push through the paperwork for if you were to answer a few questions for me, a question per student. Sona proposed her deal. Naruto inwardly cursed at that but agreed to it. You have 5 questions. Naruto conceded victory this time. He knew this was a risk, but he needed them here to keep a closer eye, and because they needed to experience what school was like. That was the father side of him. Sona looked almost giddy, as if Christmas came early. First question, do you wish to cause harm for her involvement in Issei's reincarnation? This one was for her childhood friend. At this very point in time, yes, I do wish to cause her harm, but I won't make any moves to. I don't need Serzex throwing a tantrum because I harmed his bratty little sis. Naruto expressed honestly, his eyes peering deep into hers. Sona nodded at that, appreciated his honesty. She also noted how casual he spoke the name of the Devil King. That part was interesting and shed some more light on the growing puzzle of who he was. Next question, do you seek to harm anyone here? She wanted reassurance that he wouldn't gun for them, and she believed he would tell the truth. Naruto smiled genuinely for the first time since entering the room. Apart from Saji, none of you have done anything to warrant that. I can safely say apart from him, I have no desire to harm anyone here. Said boy tensed. Ah, calm down, kiddo, you only have 2 strikes. He waved off, taking a bit of joy in the look of increased panic. You have 3 more questions, use them wisely. Nodding her head in thanks, Sona prepared her 3rd question. How old are you really? While her question confused her peerage, Naruto's grinned at her, his respect for her rising a little. Clever girl, most people have forgotten or didn't bother to learn, but most supernatural creatures look way younger than they actually are. Naruto chuckled, remembering a few of his encounters over the years. I am old, Sona, very old. I trust you all to keep this secret for the time being. He winked cutely. Sona at that moment saw a face overlap his own, paling considerately. The room grew quiet, Naruto allowing everyone to process the information. That was cut short when a seal appeared on the floor, both Sona and Naruto's face going pale. Naruto looked upward, silently asking if he was being punished. He summed up his current thought process in one word. Fuck. Sisitiaan. The new voice screamed in a high-pitched squeal. A drop-dead gorgeous woman appeared, looking in her late teens, with raven-colored hair, tied into twin tails with pink eyes. Her childlike body was covered in a bright pink magical girl outfit. In her left hand was a magic wand with an overly big star in the middle. Serafall Leviathan had arrived. She smiled at everyone until her pink eyes landed on the former ninja. Oh, double fuck. She opened her mouth, but her voice didn't come out. Her mouth closed, her bottom lip trembled. Naruto-kun, Sona's only sister whispered, her grip on her staff tightened, the object creaking under the pressure. Naruto-kun. Triple fuck. Naruto responded with a bored face, as she rushed him, practically throwing her entire body at him, knocking him off the chair and sending both of them to the ground. Her large smothered his face, and her body wrapping around him. He wondered if returning was a mistake now. Some of the other girls had the audacity to giggle at his plight. Sister Sona whispered, mentally glad she wasn't the center of the Mao Leviathan attention, biting her lip. To see her sister so familiar with a male added another question to the puzzle. Who was Naruto Haya really? I am old Sona, very old. His earlier reply to her question came to mind. Most of the supernatural look younger than they actually are. Also came to mind. He was a puzzle she wished to solve, much like with Rias, he didn't make sense. She wished to uncover everything for a different reason to her childhood friend. Who are you really? Naruto managed to get enough of his face out of her elder sisters to respond to her. Is that your fourth question? Greyfia had experienced and been through a lot in her long life, both good and bad. Right now, though, her patience was being stretched further than it had in centuries. The normally stoic woman had been having a battle within herself to not break and show emotion. Rias, her sister-in-law, a proper beauty of devil society, and someone she watched over and raised since the day she had been born. That same girl had called her brother on the emergency seal, but Greyfia had relented from him answering it. She did it herself. The man goofed off more than someone of his caliber and prestige should have, an icon to the next generation, their son included. You should have been there, Greyfia. Kicking down my door, cocky as that riser. The arrogant bastard. Rias screeched. Greyfia would have sighed by now if that wouldn't count as expressing emotion. Her husband doted on Rias far too much, to think she believed it was fine to contact the leader of their species over such a trivial issue. If you paid enough attention to Greyfia's face, then you would see her brow twitch a fraction, as her ears continued to be assaulted by the ranting. Greyfia, a very beautiful young woman looking to be in her early 20s. Her hair was back-length and a silky silver, that featured a long braid on each side, with small blue bows attached at the ends. Kind silver eyes to those she cares for, or molten silver for her enemies. Donning a traditional maid attire, the clothes accentuated her, making them stand out more. Pretending to look like she was dutifully paying attention, her mind began to drift back to a different time. When herself, her husband, and a man who had once been a brother to them. Naruto, the beauty thought with an air of melancholy. They had been very close once, during the Civil War. Naruto had been close with most whom he interacted, male or female. There was an air around him that drew people like moths to the flame. People want to know him or learn from him. When it came to battle, Naruto stood in the vanguard, at the helm. Being the first to enter the fray, never taking a life if it could be helped, and wanting to bring as many as he could home. Naruto rose through the ranks quicker than any human before him, earning the love and admiration of everyone who served under him. There were many who were affronted by his rise and desperately wanted his downfall. Mostly the elder families who followed traditions at any cost. Naruto proven that anyone could rise high in the food chain. Something came to mind, one thing he said when he had enough of their bigotry. Well, listen. I don't care how you feel about me, but unlike you relics, I have no intention of having anyone die on my watch if I can do something about it. Back then his eyes used to twinkle, she wished to smile, she wanted to, but she held back. Then one day, everything changed. Naruto had been steadfast in the preservation of all life, even the enemy, but then his method changed. He switched from preservation to annihilation. His love of life, even the enemies, had been what drew her to him in the first place. To see it gone had been a loss to the world. Still, even with the change, when he smiled and spoke, charmed her in his own unique way, Naruto was one of the few people to make her smile. Time was different when the war ended, they all knew it, and it was time to rebuild. Naruto only stayed to watch the ascension of the next set of Mao. Greyfia remembered the intense moment shared between her and Naruto, resolute in what she felt for him, and an inkling of his own feelings for her. Her heart fell for two different men, both representing something her heart craved. Even with the new darkness surrounding Naruto and his more brutal method, he was still surrounded by a mysterious aura, a sense of adventure, and a wish to better everyone. Serzek's elevation to the seat of Lucifer would bring about prestige and a stable future. As selfish as it seemed, her heart yearned for an adventure more, being much younger at the time and more amiable. When she confessed to him. To be blunt, Naruto broke her heart, not even man enough to look her in the eye as he rejected her. Then after the coronation, he just left the underworld and them. His refusal to look her in the eye, she guessed it, a moment of cowardice, but after both fighting him and alongside him. Naruto was no coward, so there must have been something else at play. Greyfia accepted Serafall's courtship, never telling him that she confessed to Naruto first. He just seemed so happy, she didn't want to dampen that. They married shortly after. Serafall wanted Naruto to be present, but she convinced him to leave him alone to make the world a better place. Greyfia wouldn't have been able to go through with it, imagining Naruto watching her as she got married to the second choice. So instead she chose to leave Naruto alone. They managed to keep an eye on him but eventually lost him. Centuries might have flown by with no sign of him, but in her gut she knew that man was still out there. With all the time that had passed them, her having calmed down and had a family, she wanted to see him again, to let him meet her son. Did he find someone to love just like he wanted? It sounded silly even to her, a devil ruled by logic, wanting to see the man who once held the paramount part of her heart. Greyfia blinked as when something Rias mentioned finally registered with her. Focusing on her sister going a mile a minute, her interest was piqued. Would you say that again? Greyfia asked pointedly, suppressing an intake of air, a rare flash of nervousness crossing her face. Rias looked onward confused, before she blinked once, then twice. Blonde-haired bastard and obscured lines on his cheeks. Wait, why is that so important? There are not many people with that combination, if any, except her eyes widening slightly, her breath catching. Rias. Ignoring the lack of Sama. Is the first name of this person Naruto? This being the first time she spoke his name out loud in decades. Blue eyes and an extreme love of orange? Unknowingly, her hand curled into a fist. Rias gulped at the expression and the frosty aura the strongest queen and silver-haired queen of annihilation was emitting. Ugh, yes. Confirming it hesitantly, to see her sister act in such a manner was definitely unique. Rias, I am going to be blunt. If this young man is who I think he is, then I must warn you. Silver pools sharpening greatly, more so than Rias had ever witnessed. You must stay away from him. After seeing his power before, I dread how far he has come since then. This is not a jest, Rias, stay away from him. He will kill you if you cross him. Greyfia would pray to God if he still existed to keep Rias safe. 5 centuries Naruto combated armies with ease. There was no telling how much greater he could have become now. Nay-san, he was rude and threatened me. I cannot just stand. Greyfia silenced her by flaring her power. Rias, I won't have you think I am being funny now. Either stay away from him, or I will personally come and drag you here. If your brother knew about this, then he would agree with me. You are playing with something you don't understand. Never had Greyfia spoken to her like this. The forceful nature completely threw her off her game, and to promise something like that. Greyfia. Her eyes softened, realizing she had been too much. I am doing this for your own good. Rias, you are very young compared to most of us, and out there are creatures that are best left undisturbed. Naruto is one such creature. Her tone was warmer, more familiar. Smiling at her little sister. Stay safe, Rias, and please treat my warning seriously. The sense of danger had evaporated. Rias smiled as best she could in return. Greyfia hoped Rias didn't let her pride get in the way, or it would damage them in the future. Greyfia couldn't comprehend how much her life was going to change. With nothing more to say, Greyfia left via her personal teleportation circle, reappearing the Gremry manor. Her hand rose and clutched where her heart would be, outside her chest. Silently pondering about how different her life could have been, had Naruto accepted her confession. No point in crying over spilt milk. This was her life now. Donning her stoic mask, she had to make up for lost time and complete her duties as the head maid. That didn't stop her mouth from opening slightly, a name accompanying it. Naruto. Is that your 4th question? Naruto asked that, after freeing enough of his face from the Mao Leviathan's bountiful cleavage. An area many would sacrifice almost anything for a chance to grope or have their head buried there without fear of earning the ire of the Leviathan. Standing up with the most childish Mao hanging off him like a sloth, a sexy sloth. Naruto didn't seem to be amused by her display. He gently broke her hold of him, using just enough of his strength to show how serious he was whilst not harming her. For a split second, he saw the hurt in her violet gaze before she covered it up with her usual cheer. Naruto held firm. Acknowledging the silent message, she unwrapped her legs before hopping off him. Naruto ignored all the gaping expressions, his gaze focused solely in Sona's direction. Will that be your 4th question? He repeated politely. Sona stared at them as if an alien had crash-landed on Earth, and surrendered itself for examination. He did have to wonder if there were little green men among the stars, though. A light shined beneath Sona's spectacles, a pit formed in Naruto's stomach. That is perfectly fine, I will save them for later. Sona gave him a wry smile before turning to Serafall. Sister, could you please shed some light on how you met Naruto-san? Sneaky little. He will admit that did catch him off guard, getting over his shock and turning toward the magical girl. Wasting no time, he leapt for her. Lady Leviathan apparently hadn't let her senses dull as much as he would have liked, evading him just enough, and freezing his feet to halt his movement. Serafall apparently thought this to be a game, so she opened her mouth without thinking of the consequence. It was during the Civil War, Serafall said happily, twirling her staff before shifting it to the other one. Overloading the ice, he shattered it with ease before rushing Serafall, taking a more aggressive stance. He didn't want those memories to be brought to light. They locked eyes, she still not coming to terms with his rapidly deteriorating mood. You have no right, Naruto's furious gaze making the room grow tenser. Sona stared at their interaction, seeing a new side of her sister right now, and making a mental note to check the Civil War and Naruto's potential involvement. Sarah remained strong under his piercing gaze, as his aura rose and the room started to feel the effects of it. The wood began to creak as Naruto's aura began to bear down on it. Sona and her queen began to sweat whilst everyone began to slip into unconsciousness. You tell them of that day, and I will do some sharing of my own. I will spoil this magical girl disguise and explain how you mastered your signature technique, and the joy on your face when you know. Naruto swallowed the guilt, then seeing the fear, he capitalized on it. He felt like scum, but he didn't want his darkest days spoken about so lightly and for children who didn't understand war. This innocent image you have concocted will fade away to nothing, and let them see the monster you tried to hide under all that glitter. Serafall couldn't believe he would say that in front of her little sister. Wanting to believe he had healed since then, but evidently, he had no. She could let what he said go. Gripping her staff tighter, she swung it at him. Naruto anticipated her move this time, sending chakra to his forearm to form a type of coating. He met the flimsy piece of food, shattering it in half. Quickly finding the broken piece and snatching it midair, he invaded her private space, pushing her against the wall, his forearm keeping her secure. The sharp piece of the wood aimed at her stomach, at an angle. It all happened in an instant. Sona and her peerage couldn't react. Biting her lip, the younger sister realized that she wasn't prepared to deal with stuff like this. Her greed for new information caused this. Her sister, the strongest female devil, was trapped, and Sona knew that she and her peerage wouldn't be able to react or make a move. Wait, please. Sona couldn't help but call out. Naruto ignored her plight. Right now all that mattered was him and Sarah. I take no pleasure in this, but when I said you have no right, you should have fucking believed me. Snarling at her, Serafall, although surprised and a bit frightened from the amount of strength she felt from him, made eye contact with him. There she saw the pain and fear, and she realized how much she messed up now. Raising shaky hands, she pressed them on the arm that had her secured against the wall. Not trying to push him off, but letting him, she saw, he grew quiet. Inhaling deeply through the mouth, he exhaled through the nose. After a calming moment, he raised his eyes. I am sorry, she apologized. I didn't mean to speak out of turn, and bring up unwanted memories, but most of all I apologize for making light of the situation. Apologizing wasn't easy for her, the devil blood in her protested every step of the way, but for Naruto, she would do it. The anger vanished, he wouldn't hold it against her. Honestly, if someone would have told him centuries ago that she would evolve into this, then a laugh would have erupted from him. To see her more carefree and happier despite her job as Mao of Foreign Affairs, then that restored some hope to him that maybe he could live in a world where he wasn't burdened by injustice. For a devil, Serafall was good and pure. What they all did in the Civil War was to save and preserve as much of their race as they could. That is why when he looked at her and saw all the shit she tried to shovel down, that he knew he had gone too far this time. Her pain was clear as day to someone who had their own. If he could be truthful, then he couldn't believe he had gone 500 years without gazing at her beauty. When he lowered her and took the sharp half of the staff away from her, it clattered on the floor. I went too far, Sarah. I'm sorry, I just can't handle it spoken about. Please keep it quiet for me? He spoke from the heart and soul, gazing imploringly at her. Sarah bit her lip, wondering how she could have missed so much damage. Out of everyone, Naruto suffered the most, with him having the most innocence. When she and Serzex came to him, asking if he could aid them, there were stipulations for his assistance, and so far their side had been failing and Naruto fulfilled his end. He suffered for nothing, and the thought had tears building in her eyes. Now she could see why he reacted so violently with her flippant attitude. During the campaign, out of everyone, Naruto had been the one person she sought out. Maybe that is why she considered him one of her closest male companions. Serzex, Ajuka and Falbium were fellow Mao and among those she spoke to on a daily basis, but Naruto. Oh sweet Naruto. He was something so much more. Being stationed with her or Serzex, Naruto had taken part in many of the major battles against the old Mao faction. There was one battle he was alone in, yet he didn't come back as wholesome as before. Something died in him that day. The evidence was still there, a crater, nothing else surrounding it survived. Serafall had believed him to be in the top 10 back then if he went all out. How much stronger had he grown after all this time? Getting back to the main topic, Naruto had secured a major place in her heart, just like Greyfia. Greyfia was an interesting topic for Serafall, originally starting out as an enemy, combating both Naruto and Serzen multiple times before they secured her to their side. The maid thought she kept it hidden, but Serafall was a woman and someone interested in Naruto, so she noticed it. The closeness that was shared between them. Then came the wedding, seeing Greyfia shooting glances at the door as if she was expecting some miraculous intervention. Something had happened between them, that was obvious, yet how to find out? Greyfia denied everything, and Naruto had long since fallen off the grid. Bottom line, Serafall wasn't entirely convinced that Greyfia was over Naruto. Taking his hand in both her own, enjoying the heat coming off his calloused palms, her hair overshadowing her eyes. "I will," she said with a small giggle. "Because you asked so nicely," a bit of her previous sparkle returning. Sona visibly breathed a sigh of relief, her peerage following their king and mimicking her action, except Rhea, who pouted at the displayed closeness between Naruto and their Lady Leviathan. Naruto gave her hand a firm squeeze before unlinking them and advancing on Sona's desk. "I think it best I conclude my business here. Can you please hand me the enrollment papers?" he asked politely, feeling a strong desire for some fresh air. He wanted out of this stuffy room. Sona retrieved them before holding them out for him. When Naruto grabbed them, she held on tight. "You have proven to be a man of your word, so I will have those 2 questions ready for you in the future." She cleared her throat like a proper lady. "I am sorry for asking my sister about something that was clearly private." Naruto smiled at her, which surprised her as it looked quite genuine. "You're a good girl, Sona, and I accept your apology. I look forward to our future encounters." Sona nodded her head with a small smile, and let go. He put them in his personal pocket dimension, before closing it. He was going to flash out of there when he felt a soft hand on his arm. Already knowing who it was, he turned to look at her. "Sarah, I know you have much to ask and I will supply answers to those questions, but not now. I really need to cool off and you have work to do. I'll still be here when you're done." He flashed her one of his signature smiles. Also, clicking his fingers, both pieces of her staff were surrounded by a bright light, before merging and relocating to his open palm. Handing over her staff, good as new, not even a dent nor any sign of damage. "I'll be seeing you soon." He disappeared in a flash of gold. The magic girl sighed, lowering her arm, and giving her staff a solid inspection. Looked better than when she had it made, giving her sister a narrowed glance. "Sona, I love you, but don't ever do that again. You are playing with fire, and you will get burned." Her voice was dead serious before it broke. "Anyway, got to go and finish my work so I can find Naruto again," so Tada waving her staff at everyone before she left via her own personal seal. Sona felt like everything was going to change soon. There was something in the air. This Naruto Haya looked to be in the center of it. She needed to know more, to combat this unknown threat. The civil war looked to be a good place to start. Her peerage each had varied expressions. Some were nervous, chipper, or patiently awaiting her command. "I guess we got a new project, we'll do the schoolwork later on," Sona said, and they all responded. She smiled for having such a loyal peerage. Summoning a photo of Naruto Hayadu. "Who are you really and what are you bringing?" she mentally debated. What stood in front of Naruto was one of the very few places that frightened him down to his core. It had been crafted marvelously, a beautiful piece of Gothic architecture. Originally designed with the intention of being a home, it came out more church-like. Greatness from small beginnings. There had been a small home here until it had evolved into something much greater. Magic was truly limited only by the imagination. The magnificent piece of architecture reached over 6 stories tall, beautiful stonework, smoothed out with the assistance of magic. It was quite a wide creation, reaching out, getting lower the further it extended out with its slanted roofs. On the outside there were the flying buttresses to add more support to the exterior or risk it collapsing. Even with the supplement of magic, it would be doomed to fail. Gargoyles were a must for the owner of such a home, having them perched above the entranceway and along the roofs. Finally were the huge stained glass windows telling various stories if one knew how to decipher them. This location never seemed particularly inviting. His mind betrayed him as it did every time he was here. Sending a mental image of a ghost, he strode forward in a rush to complete his business. A stray thought occurred to him. He wondered if she took her love of the Gothic, and his fear to the extreme when she designed this building. He took a step onto the porch. It had a small dark-colored roof held up by 4 pillars, clicking his teeth to control his nerves. He rested his hand on the door and allowed it to slide open. It gave off an eerie creak. "Oh fuck," he whispered, fighting back a recoil at the horror of that sound. He felt like a child being dared to enter a haunted house alone for the first time. Stepping through the threshold, his body being assaulted by a feeling of decay and death. The room looked nothing like the feeling it gave off, being immaculate, no sign of dust or having experienced age. Tiled flooring that shined from the bouncing light. A few paintings of people in black clothing, looking mournfully at the painter, men and women. People from the life she lived prior. There was a large reception desk in front of him, breaking the ambience of the room. Behind it stood a pointed archway, also another to the right and left of the room. A layer of toxic green magic oozing from the center one, halting any advancement to the church section. The most curious thing had been what she kept in the church. Donna never spoke about it, but it seemed to be precious to her. The green haze almost looked to be alive as it bubbled and shifted around. An overly complex chandelier hung at the peak of the room. It looked like the roots of a tree, with sharpened raven feathers scattered at the end of each pathway. This place screamed Donna's abode, and if he was Superman, this place would be his kryptonite. His fear factor rose as he heard a faint buzzing sound, his posture tensing as if he mentally preparing to face her again. Floating near him was an ugly-looking doll in a dirty white wedding dress. Her hair, if she possessed any, was obscured by the dead-looking flower accessories and the backward veil on her head. Her face had two different shades, primarily dark, but a circular shape of dirty white flesh on the left side. It stared hauntingly at him, little solid white marble eyes with a minuscule black dot for a pupil. The bottom part of the mouth moved and it spoke. "Ah, Naruto, how nice of you to visit," it said, showing an understanding of their language. "We normally don't get you stopping by here much," the doll giggled, creeping him out further, something he was sure she picked up on. It was not his fault this house was fucking creepy, and it would only get worse the deeper he went into it. "Engie, I need to speak with Donna," and knowing her, she probably made the house this way to keep me away. The sarcasm wasn't lost on the once twin Kadu experiment. Now he was sure that if Engie was capable of pouting, she would be now. "Don't be so negative, mistress would never do that to her savior," twirling around with great enthusiasm, her wooden limbs creaking, causing his eye to twitch at the sound, and was forced to resist the urge to just leave. "Can you please direct me to Donna?" he asked, his tone displaying a hint of urgency. "I do not wish to greet the other, or I'll be forced to smash them and take her wraith being directed at me." For some reason he felt like Engie was judging him, her head tilting to the side. "They only want to play, just like me," desperately doubting that, especially after hearing how they tormented Ethan during his time with them. "Mistress is in the workshop, come," turning around, she floated in the direction of her creator with Naruto close by. Breathing a sigh of relief, their way had been clear of the others. He believed that if he didn't get a bad feeling from them, then he might have been more social with them. They were just like children. Greeting him with smiles, some flew past him or around him like excited fairies. He thought maybe his phobia would have been cured, yet it remained, wanted to continue clutching him. It might become a necessity to cure himself in the future. The tiled flooring soon made way to cobblestone, lining both the floor and sides of the hallway. The ceiling looked like boarded panels. The source of light grew dimmer. Instead of electricity in the lobby, it was switched to torches mounted on the walls. A classic take of times before we had the means to channel such a valuable resource. After half a minute of walking through the shadowed halls, they came to his desired destination. Two oak doors blocking his path from whom he needed to talk with, Engie easily pushing them open. Her workshop, a place where Naruto's nightmares came to life. The room was cobblestone just like the passageway to it, same ceiling. There was a great deal more light in the form of endlessly burning candles scattered around the room in key locations. Tables lined the wall with various doll parts, manuscripts and sketches of several ideas for future creations messily lined the walls, hooks dangling the rarer pieces. It was a crying shame, a beauty like Donna chose to reside in such a morbid place, surrounded by instruments of death. Having the majority of her hair styled in a bun, her fringe was brushed to both sides, reaching down to just under her ear. Her porcelain skin resembled that of a doll, and her eyes were as dark as coal. Wearing a black button-up shirt with a tall collar, long sleeves accompanied by a skirt that pulled down to the ground, and black flat shoes. Back before she met Naruto, she used to wear a veil to hide her disfigurement from the Kadu implant, but here in her safe space, her face was revealed to those she trusted. Naruto was glad that Miranda was out of reach, or he would have introduced her to what she brought onto others. Truthfully, Naruto was glad he could fix the damage that Donna had endured. Her face was lovely. The doll maker sighed softly to herself, lifting her head, giving him a small, but warm smile. "Naruto, I suppose I can offer you a minute for braving my home." Her voice was small, almost shy, but retained a dormant sense of power. Like he said, everyone in the Regeneratorium held their spot for a reason, even those who don't fight through physical-based means. Naruto smiled. "Thank you, Donna. I need you to watch two people for me, Rias Gremory and Sona Citri." Naruto wasn't in the mood to make a second mistake and potentially be indirectly ambushed by another Mao. "I want to know what they ate, who they talked with, and hell, even when they went toilet. It might come off as paranoid, but this world apparently liked to screw with him. Naturally, what was it like seeing the little sisters of the Devil Kings, anything worthwhile? Donna inquired, lifting her hand gently as her power manifested a comfortable chair. Might as well enjoy a break from her work. Gesturing with her hand, subtly offering him one, he shook his head in denial. Nothing special or needing immediate attention, both were somewhat of a nuisance, but Sona realized her folly. While Rias will take some more time, or I'll be forced to act. He answered her honestly. Do you have an agent at the abandoned church? If so, how many fallen are nestling there, and if they have any backup? Donna agents were unique, and not many would connect them to her unless they had an insight into her mind. Her eyes rolled into the back of her head, her mind connecting with her agent as she learned what he desired to know. When it was over, her face was flushed as she coughed a little. Naruto moved beside her in an instant, rubbing her back soothingly. Turning his head and addressing the floating doll, who had been patiently waiting to be called upon. Angie water quickly. Not needing to be told twice, blitzing from the room, and returning with some iced water levitating beside her. Naruto held his hand out, thanking her before holding it close to Donna. The young woman greedily drank the water, emptying it before breathing deeply as she calmed. Helping her to her chair, Donna's face returned to normal, waving off his concerned gaze. There are 4 fallen and a few dozen Rouge exorcists. Interestingly, they have an exiled nun there. They are planning to harvest her sacred gear tonight at midnight on the full moon. Something doesn't feel right. Musing to himself. A name? Asia Argento. One of them mentioned how fond your brother became of her, even going as far to try and defend her today. There was also a brief tangle with a Rouge exorcist last night. Asia pleaded with him to spare your brother, but he was very against showing mercy. Donna frowned, her lips curling in distaste. He slashed her clothing, threatened her. I have never seen someone so harmless. Her gear, I think, is twilight healing. Interesting, very interesting. A healing-based sacred gear with a powerful subspecies balance breaker, if used correctly. Most people would naturally assume a healing ability was weak because it didn't have any power. Twilight healing was an exception to the rule. There were many different varieties. Some were well known with outstanding potential if he remembered some of the wielders. Absolute Demise or Eternal Ice Princess was held by Lavinia Rennie, a human magician in the Grauzober organization, created by George's ancestor Johann George Faust. After his death, the institute was left to his contracted devil, Mephistopheles. Canis Lycaon, a sentient sacred gear, one with access to outside its host. If he remembered, his owner was Tobio Icus, and he was recruited by the Grigori, and knowing Azazel, there would have been no further opportunity to recruit him. Governor loved his sacred gears, studying them and hoping to create one just like his father. He knew of the previous owner of Incinerate Anthem, a woman called Augusta, former leader of a group of stray magicians called Hexenact, also known as Witch's Night. After her passing and the group going dark, he assumed that Longinus was buried for the time being. Not for long, they never stay hidden for too long. Longinus or not, each gear had a purpose, and if in the right person, they could become a force to be reckoned with. Seeing the look on his face, she asked an obvious question. You're going after her? There was no doubt in his mind that he would. He had never walked away from one in their time of need, and he didn't plan on starting now. Yes, if she is as harmless as you say, then I got to find out the specifics of why she was exiled. Michael might have lost it under the pressure of the system. Donna agreed with him, holding out her hand. A folder materialized in it. Handing the document over to him. I will have my children placed in both Rias and Sona's homes, but I would like you to do me a favor. Read about her life. Asia's life has been more difficult than most, so please, Naruto, I ask that you spare her any unnecessary pain. She doesn't deserve to suffer because of a greedy crow. He took the folder, resting it under his arm. You know, I think this is the first time you have asked me for anything in a long time. I swear that Asia will not die this night. I'll give this a read after finding faith in Alma. Her dark eyes showed naked interest. You're taking them with you? Naruto gave her a cheeky smile. Don't ask what you already know. Turning to Angie, who gave a head tilt seeing his gaze on her. Think you could escort me? I don't want to be greeted by the children. Angie looked to her mistress, who nodded. Course, Naruto, Angie sang, before hovering out the room. He made way to follow when he was stopped by Donna. Oh, and Naruto. August was right, you'll be able to count on us. Now get before my firstborn leaves you to the others. Letting out a little giggle, seeing the horror on his face before he raced out the room, not before giving one last message. Stop spying on the house. Donna did laugh at that, with no one else around. She glided over to the wall and retrieved a specific idea, taking it gently before moving it to the center bench, dismissing her comfortable chair. Her break was over. Thank you, Angie. Naruto gave his gratitude to the living doll. A few had appeared on the way out. NG ran interference so he could get away before they drew close enough to greet him. It did depress him a bit since Donna gave them personalities. They could feel sadness, so when he was cornered by them, then he had to be careful, or no mercy would be shown him by their mistress. No problem, Naruto, hope we see you again, the horrifying doll sang, giving him her version of a bow before retreating into the dwelling, the door closing behind her. Sorry, I know you really mean well, but no. He sweat dropped. Okay, so now with the surveillance on Rias and Sona, all he had to do was wait until they decided on their next move. Right now, though, he needed to gather Faith and Alma for their little excursion tonight. The former would be easier, as she would be tending to her garden at this time. Taking a moment to sense across the property, honing in on a very specific signature, finding her to the northeast of his current location, he glanced at the folder under his arm, taking it in his hand and opening a small portal to his personal pocket dimension, depositing it there to read later on before darkness settled. With that done, he walked in the direction that would take him to Faith. In a field of white chrysanthemum, her wavy brown locks stood out, despite her attire camouflaging her amongst them. He didn't have to announce himself. As he neared toward her, he saw her notice him from the corner of her eye. Faith was always chipper, and to see her rise to her feet with a bounce, her ardor hadn't dampened in the slightest as time passed. Faith was a young-looking woman, we starting to see a pattern here. With long brown hair that curled at the end, bright blue eyes, a blend between both Naruto's sapphire and Jean's sky blue shade. Faith wore a delicate white dress that reached down to her knees, with yellow flowery designs on it, overlapping each other. A sash was secured tightly around her waist, also white. A small bunch of assorted flowers tied to the sash on the left-hand side of her body, trailing downward, breaking off into islands before reaching the bottom of her dress. Being as affectionate as she was, it came as no surprise when she took off in his direction. Naruto scooped her into his hold, swinging them around as she giggled, the petals sweeping into the air. After a moment, Naruto put her back down onto her feet, a few strays having floated and landed in her hair. Not that I am not happy to see you, but I thought you would have been with the hero faction or your brother? Faith asked, gesturing for him to explain as they walked. They are still asleep. I wanted to give them that before I spring something on them, and it's something linked to Issei. Faith, I'll be honest now, he was killed and reincarnated, whilst his killer still lives. I plan to take care of that tonight, and I want you to accompany me, he explained, turning a bit more serious at the mention of his brother. Faith stopped whilst twirling on the heel of her foot, digging into the soft soil. Her blue eyes studied his form for a moment before a Cheshire grin grew on her face. That already told him his answer. Sure, giggling. I've been cooking something up, and this could prove to be a good time to test it, and getting rid of some scum that won't be missed. That was Faith, a bright chipper girl 1 minute, murderous sociopath the next. Her lack of hesitation to commit murder, especially those who wouldn't be missed, would be very valuable, especially with her preferred method. Naruto rustled her hair, and the sweet girl returned. She smiled widely at him. Okay, now I got to find Alma. Her assistance will be invaluable on this raid, and stopping anyone who might worm their way past us despite how unlikely. Just think about her and she'll contact you. You remember she does monitor everything here almost constantly. Faith supplied helpfully. He kissed the side of her head in a fatherly display of affection. Remember to make sure you got everything ready for tonight. I'll only need the one thing. Might as well check the formula and see if there are any adjustments needing to be made. Toodles. Faith departed deeper into the meadow. Naruto watched her skip away so carefree for a short time before contacting another daughter figure of his. Shutting his sapphire orbs and clearing his mind, he tried to contact Alma. Sweetheart, can you hear me? He threw his voice out there, hoping she would hear him. Feeling something softly latch onto his mind, just let when a child would grab onto their parent's hand. Papa? A fatherly love flooded him for her. Her voice was soft and sweet, completely different from her physical appearance. Yes, Papa is here. I was wondering if you wanted to help me tonight. Some people did something bad to Papa and he'll need you to keep an eye out for them. Can you do that for me? When Alma was born, she was gifted with tremendous psychic power. Her own world had been limited, so when she came here with everyone else, her power grew in leaps and bounds here, finally learning to harness her full power, and even create something new. You gifted Alma a new life, a home, and family. Alma will help you. Her voice, even in his mind, rose at the end, endearing her further to him. Naruto felt a vile sense of villainy in himself for even asking for her help. Alma had always been eager to assist him, all because he had shown her something she should have had from the beginning: the love and protection of a parent. Alma was another one of the many who didn't have the love of a parent, so if no one would step up for them, then he decided he would be the one who did it for them. Thank you, Alma, and I am sorry to ask you. Don't be sorry, you are my real papa. That false one who used me for my power is long gone. Alma wishes to help, all you need to do is ask. He truly wondered if she knew how affected he was by that, sending her a smile hoping she could picture it. Okay, sweetheart, get some rest, we will leave tonight. Okay, I will rest now, nighty-night. He felt her sever the connection. Naruto strolled through the meadow, eager to get some rest himself. As he walked, he pondered on what happened so far today. He might have been a bit more aggressive with Rias than he intended, just seeing her sat there, so arrogant and prideful just because her brother was a Mao had set him off. Then again, he could have been much worse. He felt no fear toward the current Lucifer, not in his political influence, raw power, or even his true form. As Naruto saw it, he had sacrificed enough for that faction. He bled, cried, mourned, and killed for them, and for what? To be subjected to the older devil families, who were sat in their homes living a lavish life, while others were sent to the front line to die for them. Then, and this made it worse, to see them slithering out their hole and demanding a say, that really got to him, the arrogant pussbuckets. Naruto would sooner allow himself to be consumed by the dimensional gap or even Great Red than acknowledge any of them as his superior. Not just the faction, but he gave up enough for Serzen, and now his brat of a sister believed she could sit there, trying to take charge and boss him around. No! He wasn't going to take her seriously. Maybe there was a chance for her to grow and change in the future. Too long to wait for that. The present mattered. If questioned, she might be able to lie to her brother and get away with it, but not him. Those crows had been rested here for too long, and he would question them later before silencing them. Did they enjoy scouting his brother, like an animal watching its prey, while that greedy bitch sat back and waited for his death, rewarding herself with an eternally loyal servant? He cursed the system God created. Maybe without it his brother could have lived an apple pie life, gotten married eventually and had a brat or two. But no, with Drake he would never know peace. He really needed to have a sit-down and talk to Issei soon. A thought occurred, thinking back to her queen. An orange magic circle opened near his ear. Missing me already? Naruto, I am kind of busy here. The voice questioned, a tinge of annoyance in her tone. Naruto, cringing away from the volume, and actually leaning away from the circle. Angie, be quiet. Naruto ignored the in the background. I want you to gather as much as you can about Rias's peerage. Her queen was the daughter of an old friend. I looked for her, but Rias must have found her before I did. I don't want any more surprises like that. After he finished, he asked for something else. Also, I want the names of everyone involved in Shuri's murder. It is time I give her peace. I'll be taking charge personally. Of course, I'll dig up what I can and send it to you soon as possible. Thank you, Donna, and don't push yourself too hard. I don't want to risk losing you. He cut off the circle before continuing his way home. He needed rest, better to deal with his thoughts toward Rias later after he killed the bitch who took the life of his Ototo. The sun had set for the second time since he returned to Kuo. Naruto, Faith and Alma came into existence a little bit away from the abandoned church. Naruto and Faith were still dressed in their normal attire. The third and their final companion for the evening, Alma weighed. The youngest-looking member of his entire group, her build was similar to Leonard. Unlike Faith, Alma wore a satin red dress that covered her lithe form, a black sash wrapping around her waist. Her outward expression being much like Ophis, her black hair falling over her face like a waterfall, shadowing her face, her piercing red eyes shining through. Her feet were bare, and she had blood covering up to her knees. I trust you have everything? Naruto asked, turning to Faith. Of course, Faith replied, sending him a cute wink, which he rolled his eyes at, but the side of his mouth twitched upwards slightly. He looked down at Alma, sending her a smile. I got enough rest, Papa, Alma replied, her power connecting her to both of them. Allowing them to hear her childlike voice, Naruto nodded and Faith gushing at the Papa mention, the elder girl giving Alma a head pat before skipping toward the church. Before following her, Naruto offered his hand to her. You ready to go? Alma's face gave way to a tiny smile before her hand was encircled by his larger one. The duo moving to catch up with the flowery girl. As they neared closer to her, other signatures started popping up. They all seemed to be retreating to the same location. 5 stood out more than the rest. He took a shot in the dark, reckoning they were the Fallen, and the 5th was Asia Argento, or her sacred gear. Guess they decided on a different approach, Naruto mused to himself, knowing Alma was also paying attention. Alma, when it's time, do you mind dealing with the remaining Fallen? Faith has claimed the few dozen exorcists for herself? The confusion was easy to feel through their link. Why are you asking if I mind? Just point and I'll kill them. Alma asked curiously, severing the link with Faith for the time being. Alma, You aren't a weapon, you never were. You are your own person and you have a choice, you could say no. I wouldn't be angry because that was your choice. It pains me having to ask now, but you are the best we got for this situation. Naruto explained to her. You should be having fun, leading the life you were denied. Armacan technology never cared about my well-being. They just kept taking and taking, never satisfied, always wanting more for their projects and experiments. Even failing purposely didn't stop them, so I lashed out, and it led to my mind breaking before I lost my physical body. Alma stopped, looking up at him, seeing his serious face. She then continued her story. I wanted revenge. I wanted to kill them all, even those who didn't play any role in my suffering. I raped an innocent man and bore his child. That is why I stay in my darkroom, coming to an abrupt stop, seeing it was Naruto who did it. Peering up at him, her hair hiding her anguished expression from retelling her story. Naruto stopped her by giving her hand a faint squeeze. His grip tightened slightly. Going down, both of them at the same height, his gaze was full of compassion. Hugging her close to him, he spoke using his actual voice. When I was younger, I had no parents, no one to look after or to love me. People took out their pain on me because of something that happened to the village, and they lost their loved ones. I won't claim to understand your pain entirely, that is only for yourself to know. My early life was shit, I was beaten and they wouldn't stop then, but those who hurt us aren't here now. You are a valued member of our family, and no one will ever harm you again. You don't have to be a weapon anymore, you can finally live the life you want. He spoke passionately, holding nothing back, praying he got through to her. It was then he felt her hand resting on his cheek. The wall her hair created had parted, allowing her mystified expression to be seen by him. She looked to be regarding him as something new and foreign to this world, head tilting to the side. A difficult expression then came over her face, her mouth opening slightly. She looked like she wanted to try and speak. To convey how much gratitude she felt for what he said, it threatened to consume her, but her voice, much to her displeasure, didn't come out. So instead, she broke the hug to wrap her dainty arms around his neck in a solid embrace, her eyes closing shut. Thank you, Alma whispered. He was taken back by the sincerity, giving her crown a kiss before taking her hand again. The two rejoined faith a few moments later, Alma restoring her connection to their link. The church had seen healthier times. The painted glass was smashed. On the right side above, the stone looked like it collapsed, with some damage having been done to the roof. This place looked familiar, narrowing his eyes in concentration when it all came back. This church was the same one that was visited by his and Irina's family before they moved away, with Irina learning to become an exorcist in England. And him losing a great friend. Inside there were a few dozen different life signatures. Their power was significantly lower than he thought. Their darkness, however, was easy to spot for someone who had trained as much as he had in sensing negative emotions. It was vile, and as Faith said, no one would miss them if they disappeared. The four fallen were a bit lower, so there must be a secret passageway somewhere inside. Alma, I think it is time to announce our arrival. Staring at the doors, a moment later they flew off their hinges, barreling inside. Naruto patting her head softly before the three entered the ruined building. It was almost nostalgic, a younger him smiling with a girl with short chestnut-colored hair, Issei trying to catch the both of them, their parents smiling fondly in the background. Some of the benches had been moved, but otherwise, it was still the same. Most of the painted windows had avoided being broken. There was a hole in the ceiling above the altar, allowing the light from the moon to shine through. Beneath the altar stood a man with red eyes and silver hair that gleamed in the moonlight. He appeared to be wearing clerical clothing, identifying him as a member of the church. If Naruto believed so, in his right hand was a light sword, and a gun in the left, both lethal to devils. The man had an insane, murderous grin on his face as he took in the sight of them. You who foul heathens! The man called, waving his murder sword at them in a friendly manner. This man bore the stench of death. It unnerved Naruto a bit. Walking closer with his girls by his side. Faith still looked warm and welcoming, but her posture gave way that she was ready for a fight. It didn't look like it bothered Alma at all. Alma? Asking his miniature companion. Yes? Get ready, was all he replied with. Roger, Roger. He already knew what she had been watching. Hello, my good man, Naruto greeted, smiling pleasantly. Say, I am in a bit of a rush, so let us cut to the chase. Tell me where the fallen are and I won't cut you down where you stand. Instead of showing anger at the blatant threat to his life, he smiled maliciously, pointing the barrel straight at Naruto, who kept his chill, and his pleasant smile despite the danger. To be so bold, he sang. I want to spill your brain juice all over the floor before taking both of them. Oh my, the brunette looks like a right screamer. Faye's smile dropped at that, her brow twitched, looking ready to silence him. Talk about bold, I would move that gun out my face before I get proper angry. or my companion gives you a sex change. You look like you're needing it, so just tell me where the fallen are, you can leave and I can gut them. This has been a most joyous conversation, talking about killing each other. The exorcist wriggled side to side, freaking them all out. Even Alma wasn't unaffected. I guess I could give up the secret, it's right beneath me. Tapping his foot on the ground, they heard a hollow sound, a common sign of a secret passageway. But even for my new bestie, I cannot let a filthy devil barge in on such an important ceremony. Naruto had met some dysfunctional individuals, and yet this guy rose to the top 10 of them in the span of a minute. But let it be known, I am a most gracious host. Name is Selzen, devil killer extraordinaire. Naruto did have to wonder how a man became this deranged. It appeared the time for talking was over, Fried firing his gun, believing that would be the end of the blonde. The bullet left the chamber going toward the leader of the Regeneratorum. Faith looked like she had enough, moving to react, but Alma reacted first. Naruto meanwhile watched the bullet travel toward him in slow motion, his pleasant expression long gone. The tiny ball that many devils had fallen prey to drew closer and closer to him until its current trajectory was suddenly stopped. Faith sighed, dispelling her aura. Naruto looked confident that he knew that would happen. Alma, however. Fried looked shocked before he acknowledged the third member of their group. He saw the little girl holding onto the hand of the man he just tried to shoot in the face. Her face was showing. Her red eyes looked to glow for a split second before he felt an almost overwhelming amount of pain. The bullet had been sent rocketing back at him, with twice the speed. It pierced through his chest cleanly. He stumbled back as a thin line of blood fell from the corner of his mouth. The vulgar priest was then swept off his feet. Alma glanced at his mind, seeing what he did to those he preyed upon, reminding her of the cruelty she suffered at Armacam Technology when she included in the Project Origin. A fire lit up in her, raising him up in the air with her arm. She pushed as his body slammed against the wall, bringing him back before slamming him again, repeating the process before sending him barreling through the painted glass. She prayed to anyone who would listen, to make sure he bled out there, cold and alone, in the dark. Naruto looking concerned at her, Alma glanced at him, feeling her rising bloodlust be sated, dropping back down. To alleviate his fear, she gave his hand a comforting squeeze. The thoughts of all were unanimous, none cared if he lived or died. About time we go and crash the party. Eyes zeroing in the spot Fried revealed, Naruto walked until he was directing above it, slamming his foot down on the exact same spot. Instead of hearing the same sound, a crack, then the floor gave way, landing on the stairway, kicking aside any of the remains from the false floor. Come on, we got a nun to get. The three descended the stairs, going further and further until they came upon a chamber. It was medium-sized, with no electricity, so there were torches scattered around to lighten the entire room. There was little descent onto the central floor where all the gathered exorcists were gathered, glaring heatedly, and some had lustful gazes directed at mainly Faith, but some were for Alma as well. Then on the adjacent side were the four fallen, not looking like anything special but gazing at him, Faith and Alma with arrogant expressions, and then finally attached to a cross was Asia. She looked to be unconscious. That was perfect, or he would have Alma knock her out. He couldn't sense any darkness in her, an actual pure being. He wanted to protect that for as long as he could. Faith, prepare your demonstration. Withdrawing a bit. Watching as his siren sauntered toward the group who'd love nothing more than to release their bestial urges on her sweet body. Giving everyone a beautiful smile, Naruto felt the lust spike, even the single male fallen angel. Fried didn't get the chance to show me a good time, could any of you? Faith asked with a seductive tone, biting her lower lip. Feeling everything settling in place, Naruto watched everything closely, seeing how their guard was lowering, their baser instincts coming into play. That is when his eyes widened. They were too subdued by their lust to notice the small green magic circles appearing all around them and some intermixed with the group. A fine green mist began to seep out them, encircling the group and leaking out from the center. It slowly went into their ears, nose, or them breathing it in. Naruto watched all this proceeding with intrigue, having a faint idea how the spell worked. The fallen could no longer keep quiet, their haughty gaze broken. What in the actual fuck is that? The shortest of them asked, looking bewildered and a bit scared as she watched the mist draining into their soldiers. Her name being Middled, a short girl with blonde hair styled into twin tails and blue eyes. Wearing a black Lolita dress with white frills and a large black bow on the front, and a bright green jewel embedded on a collar. For the last few touches, she had white thigh-high socks, black shoes, and also a large black bow on top of her hair. Someone do something! The tallest one yelled, their earlier bravado escaped them. Calawarna was a tall and buxom woman with chocolate brown eyes, and long, navy blue hair obscuring her right eye. Her attire consisted of a maroon trenchcoat-like top with a wide collar, matching miniskirt, and black-heeled shoes. The trenchcoat top was open at her cleavage, giving a wide view. A gold necklace around her neck, A white shirt could be seen underneath her top, but it could only be seen from the bottom. Naruto couldn't contain his laughter, earning their attention. They glared fiercely at him, waving from the other side of the room. Just sit back and pay attention, your turn will soon come, or maybe you could help me and save us a bit of time. He noted how the other two didn't seem as fazed by what was happening to their comrades. They looked more intrigued than anything else. Why on earth would we help a bastard like you? The shortest one asked with derision. In her hand appeared a pink light spear, taking an aggressive stance. Naruto didn't bother to react, so he just smiled without a care in the world at her. I am sure you'll be changing your tune in just a sec. Faith was not their gardenerette for nothing, despite her passion for tending them. Flora was her field, being something she delved into during her previous life, before joining them. Like everyone amongst the Regeneratorum, Faith knew how to capitalize on her knowledge. After seeing some of her previous work, then this should get their point across. Faith smiled, and not in a pleasant way. Her spell now taken full control, her mist having been absorbed into them, taking a step toward her new angels, putting enough force to cause her foot to tap on the stony surface, them all turning toward her. When she entered their sight, they all looked up at her in reverence. Faith-sama! A guy in the front exclaimed, reaching out for her, but not moving from his spot. Lady Faith! Another proclaimed from a more youthful rouge. The Siren! Herald of the Father! This came from the back of the cluster of exorcists. Naruto turning to Faith with a brow raised in question, but the cheeky flower girl sent him a mischievous wink. Sighing softly, he turned back to the crowd. They all felt different now, no darkness, anger or even killing intent. Faith had kept the green mist away from the fallen, so their minds appeared to still be their own, but he only felt adoration from the exorcists targeted toward Faith. It was like she became their god. My darling angels, we have an esteemed guest with us. Our dear father has come to inspect us. Let us not let him down. Biting her finger with a lovely expression. Shall we say the last one standing will earn the favor of the siren? Ingenious, Naruto figured out the spell, or the majority of it, grinning in satisfaction of his siren latest project being a huge success. The fallen finally saw what she had done, realizing the error of their hubris, but now it was too late. The second Faith made her desire known. Her spell took effect, flipping a switch in them. Any camaraderie mattered not, as they turned on each other like rabid animals. First it was just fists, and then the real carnage could begin. They drew their sword or gun, hacking and slashing, or shooting anything within range of them. They showed no hesitance, no reluctance. Their mind didn't belong to them anymore, they only wanted to please their goddess. Even when they lost a limb, or were riddled with holes, they continued to fight under the very last drop of life left them. Whilst the show of death was being conducted right before them, Naruto pondered about the intricacies of her latest technique. That mist that drove them to do this, but to completely disregard everything apart from a fanatical desire to fulfill Faith's order. They were venting serious high traces of lust. Wait. It must have done something with the lust, and then rewrote it. Watching as they butchered each other. They have one sole function, to make Faith happy. This could be our future if worst comes to worst. I don't want that, but if people will not take us seriously, then we will have to. The fallen watching with horrifying realization as their only line of defense mercilessly slaughtered each other, with so much passion. Even when they fell, they struggled to their feet, to fight until they just couldn't anymore. The trio of monsters on the opposite side of the room, watching the carnage like it was an everyday occurrence. The girl in white giggled and skipped around. The blonde-haired man who they assumed was the leader of the small group, and the little girl displayed no emotion. When it came down, massacred settled down, half a man remained. His left arm had been severed, still cording from the stump, a sword sticking out his lower back. A few blood patches on his normally crisp white coat. He looked ready to keel over any minute. The only thing that kept him upright was leaning. Oh, Lady Faith, he swayed side to side. Have I earned your favor? He asked her, sword slipping from his grip, clattering on the floor. Every last ounce of his strength was used to not fall. Faith skipped forward before descending the small staircase, not bothered by the blood lining the bottom of her shoes. Getting right close to him, her dainty resting on his cheek, him surrendering himself to her, she leaned in close, her full lips stopping close to his ear, her whispering. You have, and my favor is death. Her voice was a silken purr, the spell broken as he tried to get away from her. That is when he saw it. A sparkling white mist came to life in her open palm as she blew it at him for a face shot. The difference in the mist was evident as his reaction was different, screaming as he clawed at his face in agony. Only the right arm was responsive, as the left was gone, buried beneath what he once called comrades. The bloody man couldn't find the strength to stand anymore, falling face first into the crimson liquid. Faith didn't look bothered in the slightest at the blood soaking into her white dress. The man had betrayal swimming in his eyes. He silently prayed for his God to forgive him, and welcome him back before his grievous injuries drained the last shred of light in him. For as far as human combatants go, that was a success. Yay! Cheering with the enthusiasm of an overly excited schoolgirl who got the grade she wanted. An interesting display, very affecting. Turning toward the four fallen. I guess it is your turn now. Disconnecting his hand from Alma's, Naruto walked forward. Given the circumstances, he shouldn't have looked as serene as he did. His expression did change as he moved past the pounds of bloody flesh that once used to be people, not even when his foot bumped a severed arm or leg. Now for the reason, we have come to a struggling for the right word, he frowned. Place like this is because it has come to my attention that one of you or maybe all of you took part in killing a high school student. Teeth clicking in annoyance. I am sure you're aware he has been reincarnated and that just pisses me off. Granted, I should have done something, but mentally I was not in the right state of mind then. So I am going to stay as calm as I can, because otherwise, I'll get creative with your demise and make what happened here look like a Saturday brunch gathering. Middlet and Calawarna were the weakest of the four, so they wisely kept their mouths shut, whereas the leader of their cell had no such reservations. Why would you care for a pathetic little human? He was an insignificant insect that deserved to be crushed. The one who spoke out against Issei was an attractive young woman with raven-colored hair and shining violet eyes. Unlike the others, her attire consisted mainly black, strap-like objects around and under her, a thong-like piece held around her hips by 3 thin straps, gloves running right up her arms with small lengths of chains hanging from them, shoulder guard-like objects on her shoulders with 3 large spokes sprouting from her right shoulder, and black high-heel boots. She rested an arm under her chest, raising them a little to entice him. Faith frowned at her and her action. Alma, however, began leaking a thick black miasma, hoping to kill the slut who tried to seduce her papa. A prominent frown on his face at her description of his brother, sure he was perverted, but nowhere as near as terrible as she described him. He breathed in deep, his patience starting to wear thin. Please, just tell me which one of you killed him, and the others may leave. When facing superior opponents, offer the rabble a chance to live and they will turn on their friends for the chance to live another day. Unfortunately, he had no intention in letting any of them leave. He couldn't allow Azazel to find him yet. If that happened, then heaven would follow, and with that came Gabriel, and he was not ready for her clinginess, especially when there was a chance he could be their enemy in the short future. Don't act all high and mighty. That fine piece of ass has done everything for you while you sat back and did fuck all. Do you even have any power because you feel weaker than a newborn human? The final member of the fallen. Donna is a middle-aged looking man with short black hair and dark blue eyes. He was wearing an attire consisting of a pale gray trench coat over a white dress shirt with a matching ascot, a pair of black pants and shoes. Finally, a pair of black gloves with a matching fedora. Giving a stare that would have frightened anyone who knew him personally, Naruto opened his mouth to respond, but Faith beat him to it. Silly little crow, Naruto-sama is simply too strong for such pathetic wastes of space to sense him. Faith defended her master faithfully. Hearing how the man spoke about her was bad enough, but to hear how he addressed Naruto was unforgivable. So pipe down, and cover yourself, there is a child present. Seeing his tent, the bird must have been without a woman for some time, or her voice was pure sex, she didn't the latter. I am older than you. And I am not a child, bitch. Alma fired off with a mental pout in her direction. Then why do you keep that form instead of your adult? Faith returned, blowing her a teasing kiss through their connection. Girls, you can banter later. We need to get to hurry or Asia will have her gear extracted and that will piss off Donna, and we don't want that. Both of them showed some surprise. Donna rarely asked for anything that couldn't be added to her dolls. Alma, I cannot afford to play nice anymore. Read their mind and find my answer. Don't worry about being gentle. A more meaningful expression entered her visage. She smiled evilly. Using her power, she propped their mind, shattering any mental defenses they might have with ease, even causing them a bit of pain as she roughly looked around for the information her papa wanted. Inside their minds were boring. The shorty and giant had nothing besides wanting to be stronger so they could be crueler to their victims without fear of pissing someone off who could squash them. The male wanted to spread Fate's legs and kill her papa. Yes, the man had signed his death warrant. And finally the slut. There was a little unpleasing Azazel and the higher-ups of the Grigori. Her love with Azazel, and finally here it was, learning her name to be Rainier. She watched through her eyes as she killed Issei and continued to taunt him as he tried to defend Asia. Rainier only saw Asia as an obstacle in her path to growing strong, planning to harvest and take her gear before finishing off Issei. Not going to happen. Sending everything she found through to Naruto, her gaze saw a variation of different emotions flash across his face. Alma, get ready to subdue the other 3. I want no interruptions. Maybe I am taking my anger out on her for my own shortcomings. Maybe I could have prevented him from being thrown into our world. Either way, her death must be painful. A power activated. Alma's eyes widened as she felt a beast awaken in Naruto's body. His sacred gear activating, his eyes shifted to gold. He breathed in deeply from his nose before exhaling through his mouth, locking onto his target. Alma, go! Alma, instantly responding, sent the 3 remaining fallen, slamming into the wall, immobilizing them, and not so gently as they really felt the impact. A moment later, in a burst of speed, Naruto reappearing in front of the surprised Rainer. The surprise died when she was grabbed by her face roughly, feeling his fingers digging into her. He felt her try to fight back or break his hold, reaching for her right arm, showcasing his strength. He kept twisting, not stopping even when he heard her wail of terror. The 3 fallen, seeing their leader being manhandled, tried to fight back, but when Alma upped her hold, showing them resistance was futile against her. Alma felt Naruto emotions through their bond, his anger, pain, and his guilt. He knew that if he stayed in Ko or placed someone to watch Issei, then maybe he wouldn't have been brought back as a devil. He hated Rias for taking in his brother, but underneath all that, a tiny part was grateful that she gave him a second chance. Alma had never met Issei in person, only through Naruto when he showed her through his memories. The Haya family meant a great deal to him, and as Naruto filled the role of a father, they felt like family. So letting Naruto finish off Rainer felt like her playing a role in the justice of her uncle's murder. Then she saw Asia still unconscious. Tilting her head and using her free hand, she took the girl from the makeshift cross, bringing her over to rest beside her. I bet you loved it, didn't you? To feel so powerful, to play around, taunt a human who had not even activated what made him a threat. You stupid bitch, you fucked up more than you will ever know. Because of you, the booster gear has officially joined the underworld. Rainer's eyes widened as she thought it to be a twice critical. Now I will most likely be pitted against my brother in the future, because the more and more I see, the less I believe any of you can actually change. You're all so arrogant, barking with no real power. Naruto knew both fallen and pure angels valued their wings above all else, so he threw her on her front before pressing his foot on her spine and grabbing her wings very tightly. These were her pride and joy, digging his fingers in as let out a whimper. Tears started to stream when she registered what he said. Wait, brother. Her response was his grip tightening until his nails broke the skin. To be related to such a wimp, you know, he just stared at my age. He knew exactly what she was going to say, almost showing him what happened on their date. So he ripped out her pride and joy clean out, splatting blood on his outfit, throwing one wing to the floor. He ripped out a sharp feather before discarding the rest. Using a skill he learned during the war, he froze the single feather solid. I know what you did, Rainier, and everything since then. You crossed a line and then continued to bark and nip. For my family there is no line I wouldn't cross. You think Azazel would care about you, what former two-winged fallen, how pathetic. You killed my brother, planned to take a former nun's sacred gear. That is not how you gain power. Naruto roared at her. Now, since in your mind power dictates everything, so you are going to scream for me. Naruto used the frozen wing on her exposed flesh, digging her under the skin on her back. Without direction, as if he was a child playing with a new toy, figuring out how it worked. Sick as it sounded, Naruto savored every wail, cry and beg for mercy. He remembered a time during the Civil War, during that fateful day when his mercy died. Someone close had paid for his naivety. He then struck the spine, severing her connection to her lower body, not that she would need it. Leaving the single feather stationed there, he rose to his feet and looked down at her with pity. I still have figured out if there is a place where you all go, but if there is, then remember this moment. His golden orb shone brighter, opening his mouth as an orange glow could be seen in the back before he breathed out. A steady stream of fire hitting engulfed her. Rainier screamed more than she ever had in her life. Naruto stopped the stream before closing his mouth. Looking down at her charred remains, clinging to life, he decided to put her out of her misery. Everyone watched with bated breaths as he walked close to her head, raising his foot at a snail's pace before he slammed down, going as far as to turn her head to mush and shatter the stone beneath. With death, Naruto felt liberated in a way. He avenged Issei. The gold shimmered back to blue and he turned to the middle, Calawarna and Donna. They looked horrified and not entirely sure in what they just saw, but feared they had earned the same treatment. Nothing personal with you three, but you have to die. I cannot have you telling anyone any details about this. If it's any consolation, know the unsung hero had you killed. Alma, please make it quick. Alma snapped their necks in an instant. Only their horrified expressions remained. Without care, her power released them as they just plopped onto the ground. Naruto spared them no more of his time. Walking toward the exit, he looked back at the bloodied room in sorrow. Was this to be his future? Come on, girls. He looked up the passageway back to the church and frowned. Let us go home. They all departed, Alma, bringing Asia with them, wondering how she slept through all those screams. When they finally reached the peak, Naruto instantly felt his brother and two foreign signatures, but something else as well. Turning to the right, almost like looking through the war, narrowing his eyes for a moment before they widened. That little bastard. He fought down a snarl, but his energy reacted to his sudden shift in mood. Then he felt that vile taint leave the energy. So you're still alive, Diodora, and still a little worm, you lucked out this time. Faith felt the spike in her father. She rested her hand softly on his arm. Turning around, he saw her concerned gaze, putting his hand on hers and giving it a faint squeeze. He nodded in appreciation of her action, before turning to Alma. The little girl using her power to keep Asia levitating at her height, but she was staring at her with something akin to wonder. This was new, as most people usually annoyed her, and were put down, or she tolerated them for his sake. So to see her looking at Asia with such a gaze brought a question to mind. Alma, you alright? Naruto asked, his tone soft. He kept his gaze ahead of them as he felt them closing in on them. There is something with the innocence of this girl, I find it refreshing. You think she'll answer my question on how she managed to retain it? Alma asked, her face displaying a small smile as she looked at her papa. Naruto felt them right outside, and knew that most likely a fight would be destined to break out with how he treated their king. Issei might be reluctant, but those other two are more loyal to Rias. So they would most likely fight him for her. Faith, I want you and Alma to take Asia and go. I won't let Rias reincarnate her against her will. As much as it pains me, if Asia does want to join her, then it will be of her own volition. He turned his head to the side a fraction, seeing her eyes narrow. I promise I won't kill anyone, and they are too green to be of any actual challenge to me, at this stage at the very least. He believed in anyone being able to grow strong, so even with Rias being their king, everyone had a vast amount of untapped potential, sacred treasures or not. So no, he wouldn't belittle them and maybe even encourage to give them a chance at tapping into that well. He knew Faith was going to complain to him later. Alma nodded her head, following his wishes without complaint. They all disappeared in a bright light, Asia's unconscious body with them. Knowing how he acted with Rias, it would be best to keep the charade going. Raising his hand slowly, a blue glow encompassed his hand. In front of him a throne appeared from nothingness. It came out as a block of ice before it began to shift to his will, moving in, creating armrests. A tall back, with intricate symbols circling his main one, the symbol of his mother's homeland. It was solid and nothing like those flimsy chairs. Naruto sat down, leaning against the ice with his back pressed against it, his arms resting over the rests, and finally, one leg crossed over the other. They finally came through the door, hesitant. No doubt his release earlier was felt, so inadvertently he shot himself in the foot, and it was only a matter of time since he was back officially on the grid. He breathed in deeply through his nose, alerting them to his presence. Staring all three of them down with a blank look, as if his face had been carved out of stone. He saw his brother first, looking a little rattled. To be truthful, he was the safest out of all three of them present anyway. He glanced at the boosted gear in its first stage before moving on. He then looked toward the shortest person, a petite girl with hair as white as snow, and golden eyes. The front of her hair has two long bangs going down past her shoulders with several loose bangs hanging over her forehead, while her back has a short bob cut. With her wearing a black cat-shaped hair clip, she wore the standard female uniform. The second is what would be dubbed a pretty boy. A handsome young man with short blonde hair and blue eyes, a mole underneath his left eye. He wore the standard male academy uniform, consisting of a black blazer with white accents over a white, long-sleeved dress shirt with a single black ribbon on the collar, matching black pants, and finally brown dress shoes. Naruto stared at the young man a second longer before turning back to his brother. I gather you are here for the nun? Naruto asked his brother, dismissing the other two briefly. You need not worry, she is safe and the fallen are all taken care of, Naruto said with a thin smile. Issei looked ready to accept that, but the two behind him appeared to be a different story, and Naruto noticed it. Blood, the smallest one said, her nose wrinkling. And a lot of it. Gold flickered over to the passageway. The smile on his face twitched guiltily as he heard her. You had to exterminate a few undesirables. They made a bit of a mess. Would you believe me if I said I only technically killed one of them? He gripped the armrest of his throne to loosen up, clicking his neck as well. Now listen, he threw out there, fishing for a name. Kaneko, tasting the name on his tongue, he nodded. Fitting, and you Prince Charming? Issei snorted at the name but looked away when Kaneko gave him a minor glare. Kiba, Prince Charming answered with a small bow of his head. Great, now that we know each other, there is no need for violence. I would hate to have to get messy. I have had my fair share of death, and especially with my brother present. Naruto gave away the brocard so he could see how they would react. There might as well not be a reason to try and attempt to keep it a secret anymore. Both Kiba and Kaneko couldn't contain their surprise at that. Kiba's surprise was more evident though. Naruto stared at them both, seeing only their surprise, but no guilt. Either they were colder than he anticipated or they didn't know the inner workings of their king. Guess he will need to find out himself then. The nun is safe, then your business here is concluded, as is mine. I promise we will talk about all this tomorrow. I'll explain what I can to you. He smiled in a brotherly fashion, before slowly getting to his feet, dismissing the throne as it sunk into the ground, leaving no trace of it. Gotta love magic. When Naruto strode toward them, Kiba and Kaneko, having never met the man, tensed as he drew closer. The blonde paid them no mind, patting Issei on the shoulder as he walked past him, then the rest of them. When they were all back to back, he stopped, his body posture as serene as a steady breeze on a hot summer day. You both need to train. If I was an enemy, I could have killed you at any moment, even with your guard up. Rias is most likely going to piss off a lot of people, powerful people in the future. What you have fought up to this part is nothing to what lurks out there in the dark waiting to come out. With his piece said, he continued to walk toward the doors, only to stop again when he saw the Gremry symbol on the ground. When he saw Rias and Akino, any good cheer he had evaporated in an instant, a sour look on his face as if he swallowed a lemon. The fuck you want? Asking rudely, not caring at how he sounded. He did notice something different. Her guard was up, it looked flimsy, but it wasn't as open as it was when they met this morning. An improvement. Turning to the black-haired beauty, her smile was strained and didn't look like it deserved to be there. Rias felt her smile falter before regaining her composure, remembering her earlier discussion with Greyfia and her warning, so she decided to treat him with caution. I felt that the fallen needed to be evicted, so we came here to deal with them. Her eyes glossed over his form, seeing the crimson liquid on him. He didn't seem too fussed about being seen in such a state. Well, exorcist too, he let loose with a smile. It was a good night, an innocent was saved before the act was done. His smile widened when he saw the guilt in her blue-green eyes before she blinked it away. You know, I knew the overseer of this town before you, and let me tell you what happened here. Wouldn't have if she was still in charge. Perhaps the people would be safer if this town was under my control, he sang. The room grew tense. You shouldn't speak to the president like that, Kiba said in a strong voice. Naruto had to commend the boy on his loyalty. He saw everyone subtly getting ready except for Issei. It seemed they hadn't seen fit to keep him in the loop. Naruto felt their determination. They were prepared to fight him. If that is how they wanted it, then he guessed it was time to see how deep that well was. If only to get a better grasp on them, then he would be more than happy to fight them. His blue then turned back to gold, signifying the activation of his gear, giving Rias a coy smile, one which wasn't returned. You really sure you want to do this? He heard something being summoned, tightening of gloves, and the static of electricity on Akino's finger. He gave a fanged grin. Fine, be that way. The moment the word left his mouth, everything kicked off. Kiba used his night speed to get in close to Naruto, swinging his sword down to cut him down from head to toe. Naruto displaying his own by sidestepping, and using his finger to shift the angle of the blade. Giving off a cocky smile, he struck his palm directly into Kiba's chest, launching the knight back more than it should have. Quite quick for his age, but unable to take a punch. Naruto mused as he saw Kiba grit his teeth, as a thin trail of blood dribbled down the side of his mouth. Come on, if that is all you can do, then I am surprised Rias hasn't been gutted with such slowness. Naruto taunted, Kiba rushing straight back in as he tried to get a hit on the whiskered warrior, each strike landing close, never occurring that Naruto was allowing him to get that close. When his back was turned, Kaneko leapt into the fray, but her dishonorable action was going to cost her, and Naruto was going to show them how. He waited until they got close. Kiba and Kaneko tried to hit him from both the front and back, but just when they were an inch away from each other, he flashed to the side. Their eyes widened when they were too slow to stop each other. Kiba managed to tilt his sword away, but the kitten was unable to do anything, watching as her rook's strength hit her comrade in the chest. The pretty boy was sent backwards, smashing through multiple benches, breaking them in half, rolling onto his back as he lost consciousness. Everyone stared at Naruto, who gave them a coy smile. He looked at Kiba's fallen form and chuckled, forcing Kaneko to show emotion, rage, but this time he rushed to her petite form. He quickly engaged her in hand-to-hand combat, getting a feel for her strength. Granted, most rooks excel in strength, but her speed is atrocious. Naruto tilted his head to the side, avoiding her fist. His hand shot out, gripping her at the elbow, and that allowed him to feel her chakra. It was so weak, but that granted her the time to get in a haymaker on his face. He was sent skidding only a short distance from her, to all of their astonishment. Wait, chakra, cat features. This must be Kuroka's little sister. Gold locked onto gold before he studied her facial features. Fucking hell, that is her. Her attack was quite good, but no way near enough. He brushed his lip with the back of his hand, only to see no blood. Does need more training, much more? Suppose it's time to end this. He flashed behind her, a seal appearing on his palm as he slammed it on the back of her head, and she face-planted the floor. He flashed to Kiba, doing the same thing before reappearing in front of Rias and Akino. Your knight and rook are down, you have a queen and a pawn. Do you really believe you can win, or are you that arrogant to think you can overcome anything? He then turned to Akino, a sad smile on his face. I don't want to hurt Shuri's daughter, but if you raise your hand then I will do what I must. Era, do you really believe I am that easy to be taken down? Akino retorted, biting her finger as her other hand started gathering lightning. You are a magic-based user, that much is obvious. You're also suppressing a vital part of what could make you a threat in the future. Did you fall out with your father? He asked curiously, almost flinching at the look of rage that overcame her otherwise beautiful features. He mentally cursed, as the magic in her hand gathered in an instant before she fired it at him. Naruto rose both hands, coating them in ice, firing them at the lightning. The second both collided, Akino might have had more control than he did with his ice, but he held more raw power in his body. The ice coated the outside of her attack and froze it solid. Everyone was baffled. Further than the lightning, ice sculpture fell and shattered on the ground. In a split second, Akino fell to the ground with the same method he used to incapacitate Kiba and Kaneko. Now there was only him, Rias and Issei, exactly how he wanted it. He turned to look at his brother, who looked frozen in shock, no doubt having seen them all fight, and wondered how someone so close to him could take them down so effortlessly. He might have been a bit grateful to Rias for bringing his brother back to life, even though in his mind she was partly responsible for his death. The future looked dire, and he didn't want to fight him if it came to the worst. So as his elder brother he needed to do what he was going to do. Issei, what do you know of the specifics involving your death? That question froze everyone who remained conscious. Rias was about to open her mouth, but Naruto swiftly used some wind magic to send her barreling into the wall on the other side of the church. Stay out of this. Wait your turn. Naruto turned back to Issei, gesturing for him to speak. It was the fallen, Rainier, Issei replied, not sure where this was going. Rainier is the one who attacked you, but Issei, answer me this, who is the owner of this territory? Rias felt a sinking feeling in her stomach. That attack took the wind out of her body, and she struggled to get up to defend herself. Rias and Sona own this territory. Issei continued to answer. A realization was coming to his mind. Yes, so tell me how Rainier could have been stationed here with her group and escaped the notice of Rias and Sona? Why did Rias only come to your rescue after you were killed, and why did she bring you all here tonight, hoping to gather another piece through their death without their permission to be reincarnated? He hoped Issei could see, but when he saw nothing dawn on his face. Issei, she allowed you to die, so she could reincarnate you without your permission and have an eternally loyal peace. No doubt the same with Asia. Issei froze when everything entered his mind. It did make sense. Rainier would have had to been here for a while to scout out this sacred gear. The question was what his sacred gear was to warrant his demise. But why? It is just a twice critical, nothing special according to Rainier. Issei cried out, everything was unraveling. It is one of the 13 Longinus sacred gears, capable of performing extraordinary feats, even killing a god, Naruto supplied helpfully. I know it wasn't your choice for any of this, but I can change you back, or you could join me and I will keep you safe, even if they declare you astray. Will you come with me, brother? Naruto held out his hand with an imploring gaze. Rias gripped the wall to get back to her feet. It was a slow process. Her speciality was more magic-based, so her physical capabilities were weak. Hearing everything Naruto had said made her fear for her life and her peerage. They were innocent of all this. It had been her selfishness and greed that allowed this to happen, all because she wanted to be free of her engagement to that bastard. Issei, earning his attention as he looked at her, she gave him a sad smile. Perhaps it was time to be truthful. What he said is correct. I did allow you to die and I am sorry for that. There is something happening in the future, and I needed more people to assist me with it. They saw her take a deep breath. The truth is, even though you were a pervert, I didn't think you would agree to be reincarnated when you found out the danger for our kind. So I allowed you to die because it was the easiest option, but I was wrong, and for that, I apologize from the bottom of my heart. She bowed down to her waist, something akin to kneeling in their culture. Naruto couldn't actually believe she did that, and worse, everything she said was truthful. He felt her guilt, and how honest she was with her apology. Dislike or not, he would admit that it took her a lot to swallow her pride and do that. This put him in a tight spot now: attack her and most likely kill her, and risk Issei turning against him, or let her go. Rias, I can forgive you, but please don't do all this again. People should have a choice before becoming a devil. Issei said with a small smile. Rias shared it. Naruto's eyes widened. Forgiving the one who let you die just like that? No, he wouldn't accept it. He started to chuckle, slightly, then it got louder as they both stared at him. Just like that? Naruto raged, clenching his hand into a fist. She is responsible for you dying, been thrown into this fucking world, and just like that you forgive her? Walking forward, Naruto grabbed his little brother by his shirt. Tell me fucking how that is fair, right fucking now? Growling, his eyes looking as menacing as ever. Issei should have been frozen in the face of such anger, but instead, he smiled softly. Doesn't everyone deserve a second chance? Naruto's eyes widened, remembering how many people he forgave who all tried to kill him at one point. Then he remembered losing everyone and coming here only to see people die by the score with no justice, so no, not everyone deserved the luxury of a second chance. Letting go of Issei's shirt, Naruto turned to walk away from him. Then he remembered how arrogant Rias looked to him this morning. He stopped and turned toward her. No, Issei, not everyone deserves it. His brother couldn't make the difficult choice, so he would do it for him even if he hated him. Rias widened her eyes as she saw his mouth open and a glow at the back shit. Naruto breathed a steady stream at her, and Rias couldn't move. Her body ached, and even standing up took what remained of her strength. Greyfia had been right, it was the move of a foolish girl to confront him. Naruto had decimated her entire peerage, and whilst failing to bring Issei over to his side mattered little it seemed. She smiled as the wave of orange flames came closer to her. Issei ignored the bond with his brother for someone who let the fallen kill him. He proved to be a far better person than her. She would miss them all and treasure the moments she shared with them. Issei, I'm sorry I wish I could have done it differently, then I would have asked and not let my pride get in the way. Closing her eyes as she waited for her death. Issei, on the other hand, moved as quickly as his body would let him, hoping to stop his brother, but then it happened. A massive thick wall of ice rose in front of Rias, melting as the fire collided with it, causing Naruto to stop the stream as scanned the room and felt it. Fuck! He was frozen in a solid ball of ice, only his eyes being able to move, stopping when he saw her. Greyfia seeing the silver-haired beauty for the first time in 5 centuries. The beauty he'd rejected so long ago came to light with both Kiba and Kaneko in her hold, gently placing them down next to Akino. Rias, you ignored my warning and nearly died. If Serafall was the one who came, then Ko would have been reduced to a crater. Her voice was colder, both because of the situation and at the sight of the man who broke her heart. Greyfia Rias tried to apologize to her sister-in-law, but she was having none of it. Clicking her fingers as all of them and Issei who looked at his brother one last time before they were gone, leaving only the two of them alone. Awkward. When they were gone, Naruto shattered the ice around him, sending the shards scattering around the church. He strode out, walking a little toward her before stopping. What are you doing here? Naruto asked, tucking his hands into his pockets. Protecting my sister-in-law from you, evidently, Greyfia answered. Why are you trying to kill the little sister of my husband? Greyfia asked this time, and revealing she had moved on and found love after him. If Naruto looked to be bothered, he didn't show anything, his face like a rock. I wasn't trying to kill her. We both know if I was serious this room would have been redecorated with her blood. He clicked his teeth. I heard you got married, a grandiose affair, I am sure, the famous love story of the future Lucifer and the strongest queen. The sarcasm made her frown. Yet they are all failing their promise to me. Once again I have been taken for a fool for trusting your fucking race. His gold started to burn, becoming a beacon in the vast darkness. Naruto, that is not true, you know all the pressure they are under. That was the wrong thing to say as he sneered at her, her face hiding the hurt from such an expression being directed at her. Pressure, yeah. Serafall and Serafall are massive ciscons. Ajuka spends most of his time in his lab, and don't you dare get me even started on Falbium. If I had known it would have turned out this way, then I would never have helped them. Let them rot for all I care. Greyfia's mouth opened to defend her husband and the other Mao, but nothing came to mind in what she could say in their defense. They neglected the one thing he asked for after he gave up so much so they could continue to survive. You can see then? Your people used me and I lost someone most precious to me, and one simple fucking promise. Naruto roared at her, causing her to flinch. They are fucking pathetic, they fear political power so much, then I'll give them something to truly fear. I will promise you that. Especially when there are 7 billion lives on the line. That sent warning bells, Greyfia tense, knowing exactly how much damage Naruto could and would cause to not just her faction, but the entire supernatural world. Each one of them had abused humanity in some way, and with Naruto as their sword and shield, then the damage would be catastrophic. Naruto was pretty much declaring war. The worst part is that there were many in the underworld who would rally to his side in a heartbeat. His influence from the civil war hadn't diminished in his absence, in fact, it grew stronger. Many who served with and under him still adored him, eagerly awaiting his return even to this day. I guess the unsung hero lives on, Greyfia thought. Most of the elder devils who were against his rise tried to bury him in the annals of history. Many feared him as his political presence grew, they feared being overthrown, and a traitorous part agreed that maybe that wouldn't be so bad. They caused problems for everyone with their desire to keep the blood pure, making many of the newest generation arrogant, believing those who were reincarnated deserved less, and simply being acknowledged as a half-devil was enough. Being stripped of their free will and forced to do any task asked of them, no matter how immoral. They claimed devils were creatures of sin, and yet quick to cower behind their fancy titles when they were cornered.